Hello, everybody, and welcome. It is April 19th, 2023 already, almost at August. And I am definitely tired because I went to bed at 1:30 last night, going over my notes and working on many different projects and having worked on many different side gigs throughout the past couple of weeks. So my apologies that the email invite, I was supposed to press send last night, actually, much, much earlier than I went to bed. And I woke up this morning and looked in my sent folder and I said, that didn't actually get sent. So then I finally sent it out. So my apologies for late send out. Please never be concerned about whether class is going to happen. Class will always happen, even if I'm late on sending out the Zoom link. So thank you for those who were able to tune in and be here. And for those who are catching the archive, thank you so much. And I posted this also on Patron and a couple of other places in order to invite people, because I feel like this is such an important and really relevant, just moving aside my notes so that I can read them more easily, because I'm always looking down on this thing. So I put them up on the screen next to me here. Going to be a really relevant, coherent and longevity, teaching that has coherence and longevity. So this is from 10 years ago, but it's still absolutely relevant to what we are presently experiencing. And I think that it is an incredibly worthy reminder. And then I can also talk about the ongoing Ascension experience. This is my superfood coffee. It is decaf though, I promise. And I'm now going to use my one time per class when I jump up once per class, because this sculpture is going to be very relevant and very necessary in today's lecture. So today's lecture is all about the death journey. This is level 1, lesson 16. Apologies that I didn't say that immediately for anybody who's tuning in. They're like, Laura, get to the point. Which lesson is this? Level 1, lesson 16, the death journey. And then I'll also talk a little bit about personal ascension, personal experience, because that's a additional recording that I did about my journey as Aurora and Flying Rainbow Lasagne, and having gone through a death experience, died but not died, and what that is about. So the focus or synopsis, if I had to encapsulate what I'm going to say in the notes from today, death is an impersonal force that is like a flowing membrane. It is meant to be a focuser, like a lens. And I talk a lot about your chakras of your time body being like a lens, or like you have this lens in front of your face that is the anthropocentric lens through which you look at and interpret the uncollapsed waveforms of reality. Death is like a lens that is a focuser for your awareness or for your consciousness on its journey. And I also will speak first in terms of the pristine system, how things are supposed to be, and then of course refer to how things have been subverted and even to the present ongoing challenges, because the notes are relevant and valid from 10 years ago. And also I want to speak to the ongoing ascension process. And I've been here for 20 years, and what I wrote 10 years ago is definitely preparation for everything that we are experiencing in our consciousness journey now. And then now I also get a chance to fine tune what are the instructions at this point in the map of consciousness, in where we are and what we are doing. I also want to say that I recognize that death is a topic that can be very emotionally perturbing, like especially if you have if you've recently lost a person, someone who you were closely connected to, a person or a pet or someone like that, because there's a lot of very real heart and then down here emotion stuff that's beyond the intellect. When you grieve, I don't ever want to appear insensitive to anybody who's in the grief process. So please forgive me if any of the things that I say end up being something that is a trigger for negative emotional response in you, or if it brings up sadness or anything that I wouldn't, my intention with what I teach is not to make anyone feel bad. And also I'm going to speak about things in very neutral, analytical language. I don't want you to think that I'm a totally cold, unfeeling monster. I'm not a reptilian in any way. I'm laughing about this. No, although I'm not neurotypical and have a very different perspective than other people, very empathic, I'm very deeply feeling, and I have had my own losses in life, and I know what it feels like. So when I talk about death, I recognize that there's a huge emotional component. It matters a lot. But also I think that this perspective that I'm able to give to you will hopefully help to give more to contextualize death and the losses that you've experienced, and maybe bring resolution to those turbulent or unsettled emotions that happen, because our society is totally unprepared to deal with death. So I'm going to talk about ancient societies like ancient Egypt and ancient Tibet in terms of how they looked at death and prepared their population for the death process. But another big, huge emphasis and takeaway from today's presentation is that death is not inevitable. It is not necessary. It is actually not part of the intended song of your life or the original format of what your life would be shaped like, what I jokingly call the brochure. Like, when you decide to incarnate, what does it say in the brochure? And actually, this goes back to ancient Atlantis, before ancient Egypt and before ancient Tibet. Those things are vestigial outgrowths of the original culture that we had in ancient Atlantis. Every single one of you that is here today has a concurrent or ancient life in another parallel layer of reality that is known as ancient Atlantis. And that is the world before death was invented, a world where we all are immortals and where our bodies function in a very different way, and we are light eaters and totally non-corruptible. But that, again, that intellectual knowledge of that does not belie or deny the very, very real feelings that happen when we have a loss in this world. And so, like, I've had human friends who have died, passed on, whatever we would like to say, left this world. And then also I've had, cats and also animals that I loved and cared for that have left. And I'm deeply connected to them. And you feel it a lot because there is, hold on. Thank you. I need to sustain myself during the marathon. There is a real entanglement of love and consciousness that happens when we are alive together and when our lives overlap. And then when there is death, there is this unentanglement that is like a very painful process. So the pain is completely beyond any level of intellectuality, rationalization. This is what grief is. And that's why you have to respect grief and simply allow the process to happen, and that there's no way to hurry it. It is just because someone else literally has left your reality plane and is going on a totally different trajectory, and you can kind of feel them like zooming away. So let's begin in abstraction. So I can kind of give you the anatomy of what I'm talking about. So I hold this thing up all the time. One beautiful commenter on YouTube was like, no, Aurora, we never take it for granted. We love it every time we see it. Thank you for that. Because I definitely want to make certain that although we're very familiar with what this is, we never become kind of like ho-hum, like, oh yes, I already know everything about that. There's so much deep, profound stuff baked into the format of what this is. So I talk about this being both the source that we emanate from and the destination that we circulate back to. I talk about these figure 8-like patterns. So as you see my pen tracing the edge of this sculpture right here, I'm starting in the middle. Like here, let's do a big figure 8 together, everyone, okay? Like pretend this is dance class. We're going to go down and then up, over, back, down into the singularity, down, up, and over. So as I come to the singularity here, something is being emanated, and it's moving along this edge here, and that edge is a flowing membrane, and it is the flowing membrane of death. In the antediluvian world, that membrane is not occupied, certainly not occupied by any of us, although it has become occupied by, Pedro, hat tip to you, those pesky occupiers of the interstices. These are never alive beings. So there's a big distinction to be made between those of us who have incarnated. And when you come into life, my piano is on over here, you play the music of life. The music of life sounds like a strange synthesizer today. Hooray! I played a song. I got to be alive. I played the right notes. Those who are the never alives, cover your ears, everyone. Play the wrong notes. They mash the keyboard. They don't even try. They've never had to. So there are certain patterns that we conform to cellularly, energetically, genetically, and in the pathways of our consciousness in order to be what is alive. Alive is when you are circulating through this lower vortex, The pathways that you circulate through are spiral, but I'm always drawing them as these simplified lollipop shapes going up. And when you are here where I'm wiggling my pen, that's being alive. In order to get into that area, you have to pass the audition. You have to be shaped right. You have to be doing the right stuff. You have to be willing to be in alignment and in conformity to the larger patterns of energy and consciousness as it flows in the cosmos. So I say congratulations to everyone who is here in this class or watching this video. You passed the audition. You got to be alive, and you got to be alive, not only like alive for 1 second and then kaput, but alive enough to be here probably a couple of decades. Probably most of you are a couple of decades, in existence, and enough to develop your language capacities and your cognitive abilities. Hey, Harlan, good to see you. Good friend just tuned in. To be able to stay alive for several decades means that you not only played the music right to be able to gestate and then become born, which PS is one of the most enormous unlikelihoods of the world. Like if you are a person who's ever hovering on the edge of like, does God exist? Does God not exist? Is there a intelligence behind the cosmos? Do things happen randomly? Just look at human birth. Or live birth of mammals. It is such a profound unlikelihood that conception occurs, that fetuses are carried to term, and that live birth occurs. Just to have one baby be born, or whatever, a mama squirrel to make a group of babies, or whatever, mama cat to make a bunch of kittens. Super duper probabilistic statistical unlikelihood on a grand scale, on a grand galactic scale, for one birth to occur. And when you look at the amount of life that is being birthed every minute of the day on our beautiful, amazing planet over here, so many human births, so many dogs, cats, squirrel babies, and even insects. You might not be a huge fan of insects. You might not look at mosquito larvae and be like, oh, the miracle of life. And yet still, the miracle of life. And people that know me and follow my journey, they know that I've been working on a new micro business of growing microgreens. So I have all of these flats of seeds that I grow every day. And I'm telling you, every time I look at my seeds and a little seed has the root begin to emerge and then leaves begin to emerge a couple of days later, I'm like, the miracle of life, the miracle of life. Hundreds of miracles in front of my eyes. Every time a seed grows, it is a miracle of life. It is a statistical unlikelihood. It is amazing that this happens. And actually, we are calibrated for life. We are not calibrated for death. So the brochure, everything about this experience was meant to be, come have a body. You will remain divinely connected the whole time. You will be guided by your truest, highest self insight the whole time. And it is not necessary to hit this membrane of death. Not necessary to do that. That really what you do is follow the musical score of what you are supposed to be doing throughout the whole entirety of your existence. Never play a wrong note. Live in a state of total health, vitality, and euphoria, really, and then return home to this moment of divine connection, bringing with you all of the amazing accumulated experiences, all of your treasures and mementos that you've had from having this journey of becoming individuated. Okay, that is the brochure. But that is not what happened. That's like saying, we got this brochure about like, get on a cruise ship. The cruise ship is called the Titanic. Sounds great. And they don't tell you like, yes, and your cruise ship will like hit an iceberg and sink horribly. That is literally what happened in Atlantis, that we came into incarnation, came into physicality being, I should say, and that our world hit an iceberg or, was horribly subverted. And that is the invention of death. And so death is really one of the original traumas. And talking about this, I'm very, very sensitive to trauma and not wanting to reinvigorate people's traumas, but again, to recontextualize it and bring us through it in a sense of not just having coping mechanisms like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Have a real sense of contextualization and empowerment so that you know why death has been in existence, what it has been doing, and then how to transcend it. So there are basically two options, not to be too reductionist, in navigating this reality structure. one option. Once you are alive, circulating around in this vortex of aliveness, you can either hit the membrane of death, which is like doing a wrong math problem, and then you circulate back to the beginning, and then you try it again from a new perspective, or you can ascend. And when you ascend, that is like when you have done your math homework correctly, you go up this central core timeline that I call the path of least likelihood. In times when your eyesight is closed and you cannot see what the F is going on, you're in a miasma or in a fog, you hunt and peck on the piano keyboard. Hey, is this the right note? No, 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 no. And every single one of those wrong notes is a death. No, wrong note, wrong note, wrong note. And finally we get to, that's the right note, except I had to try all of these other wrong notes to get up to. And we're not supposed to have to go through all of those wrong notes, but that's what has been going on. So let me book. I have my notes because they're so good. Death is meant to be a focuser of your awareness, like the focusing of a lens that focuses light rays. Literally, your awareness is a set of light rays. Death is a flowing membrane of energy that is impersonal, in exactly the same way that like a tornado or a waterfall is impersonal. Like if you stand in front of a gushing waterfall, like you're going to get swept away. Or if you jump in front of a tornado, like you're going to get whirled around. Because death in the world that we are in right now is often personified as an anthropomorphic figure, like wearing a shroud and with like a giant knife, and he's going to come along and cut off your head. And the sense of death also being a punishment, karmic punishment. You did something wrong, going to get slapped by the cosmos and you're going to die. None of those are really, really accurate. Death as the flowing membrane. If I should draw this for us. That's why I have my little trackpad ready. Squint, scroll, do it. Okay, so this is, I do this for privacy's sake for everyone else. Simplification of the lower quadrant of that sculpture. I've drawn this for you many, many, many times. And this is a super exaggerated thickness of the membrane of death. And let's choose a color you can see effectively. Like, okay, we'll choose blue. We're starting out over here at birth. And then you move upward 1 minute and you make it, let's choose red as the color for the dead versions of you. And you died because like maybe your umbilical cord got wrapped around your neck or the nurse dropped you or whatever it was. And then what happens is your genetic sweater is unfurled and your journey of consciousness takes you back to the beginning. And then you begin again, but from a slightly different vector or a slightly different vantage point. That's moving up the keyboard, right? So now I'm going to try this direction. And then it doesn't go very much further. Maybe you last a couple of weeks and then you end up having this final moment. And then you circulate back to the beginning. You try again and again and again. I draw this out for you because what ends up happening is you end up with many, many, many multiple final moments as the snapshot. That is the accumulation of your existence circulating through time. And it's not just on that side. You recognize that this is like a volumetric surface here, and I'm just drawing in cross section. So you also, of course, have last moments over here. I call these last moments the final denouement. That is a word from the world of film, meaning like the culmination. You know, when you watch a movie, this happens and this happens and this happens. And then finally, in the end, like the hero and the heroine find each other and they hug and they kiss. Freeze frame. That's it. That's the final denouement. It's the end of the movie. That's what this is. Again, please never misinterpret. If I use an analogy such as your life being like a movie, or your entire potential of time field being like a video game, please never misinterpret, as I'm not sociopathically disassociated from the very realness of what we're experiencing. I caution this because some people and some organizations and some schools of thought encourage desensitization, disassociation, and depersonalization. Kind of like, it doesn't matter, like there's multiple timelines and parallel realities and you're dead here, but you're alive somewhere else. Oh, well, get my machete, start hacking people's heads off. No. Life is incredibly precious. We don't ever waste life or cut off people's heads for no reason, or self-destruct for any reason, willingly send oneself to the membrane of death. Even though I'm not judging people, if you are a survivor of someone else that has committed suicide, or, it self-destructed in your life, heart goes out to you. None of this is meant to be like the heavy Christian judgment that a lot of people feel and or promote. I definitely don't agree with that theological teaching at all. But it's the sense of the sacredness of life, and also the sacredness of the final moment of death. That even if you feel that you have lived a rather prosaic life, like whatever, you grew up in a small town, married your sweetheart, sold carpet by the yard, and then died sadly of toenail cancer, and then there's your last moment where you're in your hospital bed surrounded by your friends and family. I'm being a little bit lighthearted and facetious there. That still is a very sacred and profound moment, because there's an equation of you that last moment represents. So here's the equation of you. The equation. Gotta get the right color. I'll just use X's as a moment. Moment X. Oh, that's going to be too confusing for you. Hold on. I'll use circles. This moment plus this moment, dot, 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 all of the moments of your life plus this moment equals this final moment, this final red circle that you find over here. And that final red circle, that final moment, contains the implication of the entire trajectory. All of this, everything that you've been through from the moment of your birth, all throughout your whole entire life. You are literally a type of mathematical equation of possibilities, probabilities, and likelihoods. That is what time is in an abstraction. But that does not, again, belie the very real sufferings or triumphs that you've experienced in your life as an embodied experiencer. And it doesn't, your final moment is not tawdry or tarnished in any way. Looking at that, it is a very, very, I want to say expensive. It's an expensive moment. Everything leads up to that moment. So in our culture, it might not be respected that much, but let's go into the notes. In other cultures, it was considered to be the pinnacle or culmination of everything that you did in physical, mundane life. So here, I have it written in my notes much better sometimes than what I'm saying in the moment. That final moment is a fractal of everything since the moment of birth. So right here, there is cultural programming that, first of all, personifies death as something to be afraid of, really is in a large part in denial of what death is. And then also the world that we are coming out of, most of us that are here in my audience or part of this conversation, is a modern, industrialized, secular, materialist world. And what that means is, what is prioritized here is, let me grab a sculpture over here. What is prioritized here is red chakra stuff, physicality stuff that involves the five senses, your physical body, commodifications such as a hunk of gold or a piece of land or bales of wheat and corn and barley, stuff that you can touch that is very tangible. And in this mostly culture that I speak to people from, success is deemed, do you have a lot of gold or barrels of hay or land? Do you get it? This is very, very different. And almost no teaching or guidance, almost no lineage is what I'm trying to say, almost no lineage guidance throughout your life or upon your moment of death about what death is. So, I mean, Christianity and some of the major religions here on earth are appealing to a lot of participants because they give some very real answers about afterlife. And then they also give some very real guidance about how to live your life in light of that experience of afterlife. So what I'm here to tell you is that afterlife and that flowing membrane of death is a self-realization process. That is the realization of who you are on the truest level beyond your temporal ego. And the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Tibetans had books about this that are about when you leave this world, what are the tests that you will face. And the tests are not like a test that you can cheat on, like a test in school where you're like, I'm going to write it on my hand really small. And then when they ask me, I'll be like, the answer is, whatever, photosynthesis, or, you write something on your hand to try to remember it. Or I'm going to look at my neighbor's test, or whatever, the SATs, the school ability test, or something like that. It is not a test like that at all. It is more a test like testing how strong a piece of metal is. Like, oh, I'm going to try to bend it. Oh, no, I'm going to try to bend it harder. I'm going to try to bend it harder. It still didn't bend. That's good metal. It is a test of your soul. That's the type of test that it is. But, I don't agree with a lot of the distortions of Christian theology that talk about, your soul and the type of tests, auto de fe, which is an act of faith, and all of these things, because I really come at this with the presupposition that you are worthy, as opposed to the presupposition that you are a sinner, that there's something inherently wrong with you, and that's why you're here, which is just too much. Like when you're traumatized, that's a lot of what people go into. They're kind of like, I'm really in the SHIT. Why am I here? I must have done something wrong. I must have done something very wrong, like rocking back and forth. I must have done something very, very wrong. Why am I here? Why am I here? No, actually, your innocence. That's one of the big lies. Death was invented and you were plunged into a world of mortality and you totally didn't deserve it. And there's always something to learn from a situation or a circumstance, but that is largely your own choice in responsiveness to the circumstance. But the circumstance was not generated in order to be, quote unquote, a school of hard knocks, or the school of death and destruction and grief, because flat out, God does not teach us in that way. Flat out, you are God. You don't teach yourself in that way. So what we are learning, if anything, is what it's like to navigate a non-pristine system, be subjected to a profound amount of injustice, and how do we respond to that? And my response is always to Kobayashi Maru. I don't know if you guys know that reference. It is from Star Trek II, when Captain Kirk is faced with like a Starfleet Academy test that is a simulation where he has to pilot the ship called the Kobayashi Maru, and it's a no-win scenario. And no matter what you choose, the ship is going to be destroyed, or your crew will all die, or whatever it is. It's a no-win scenario. It's designed to test his leadership. And so what he does is he reprograms the computer so that he is able to win the no-win scenario. So that is why Kobayashi Maru is a shorthand for, okay, when everything is not okay and there's literally nothing that you can do, and it seems like there's just dead ends everywhere, what do you do? Kobayashi Maru. And I have a song about that too, and I really love that song. It's a very, pardon me for saying it, very kick-ass song. Flying Rainbow Lasagne, however, it is like pressing the big red button of unlikelihood. It is, however, not a random or arbitrary new patterning. It is a higher dimensional patterning that additional dimensions give additional freedom. That what I always say is gaining an additional dimension means gaining an additional level of freedom, but that level of freedom does not mean random or arbitrary or anything goes, anything that you want. But it does mean that you have more elbow room and that you can get more stuff done. So what seems like or seemed like a no-win or hopeless scenario from one perspective of dimensionality, if you are able to gain a higher dimensional perspective, you get more capacitation. There are more variables and more things that you can do and accomplish. You then find, now there's all these new things I can do. That is why I say, in the face of adversity, dance like a flying rainbow lasagna, because what you can do is rearrange reality. It does not have to be this no-win scenario that you are faced with. But I want to contextualize death. Like, we have death and then return to source, that is ascension. And there is not really like a better or worse than comparison, because I don't want anyone to be like, oh, like my cat died, like she failed ascension, or my friend or partner or loved one or family member, they died, they failed ascension. I don't want you to think that. But I also want you to think, so I want you could tell my brain is really melting down right now. There's a lot of imposters in the astral realm, which is essentially that membrane between deaths, a realm of residual consciousnesses, reverberating and fragmented consciousnesses that kind of don't know their ASS from a hole in the ground, but they're very happy to misportray themselves as guides or teachers. And so if an organism has been alive and it has died and it has not ascended effectively, you cannot expect it to teach you the right notes in order to ascend. That's the caution that I wanted to say. So loved ones, cats and dogs who have died, they are not inadequate. They are on their journey, and please know that they will eventually ascend. They will find that right note. They will find the right note that they are looking for, but that it might not be in the area of coincidence where your lives overlap. Let's draw a Venn diagram. What is the area of coincidence? I'm doing math with you guys. Don't jump out the window. A Venn diagram, you might remember from whatever, middle school or something like that, is a set of two overlapping circles where you have areas that are discrete and then areas of coincidence. The area that I'm coloring in green is the area of coincidence. That doesn't mean where random things happen. That means the area where things coincide. That is where the black circle and the red circle overlap. So when a person or a loved one, animal dies in your world, it just means that their consciousness, this blue dot, now is over here. It is no longer in the area of coincidence. Your experiences and your awareness no longer overlaps, but it doesn't mean that they are a failure. It doesn't mean that they are disposed of. No one is disposable. No consciousness is disposable. A spark of consciousness is, again, sacred and completely valued by the overarching, holistic presence of meta consciousness. That there's no way to be like, you're not a needed puzzle piece. Like, I don't know, have you ever done a puzzle where you like whatever, you get it from a garage sale, you start doing the puzzle, you get it, and then you do the whole thing, like there's one puzzle piece missing. Like there's no such thing as a not needed puzzle piece. Like you need every single puzzle piece in order to complete this, in order to complete the mosaic of consciousness. So there's no way to be like, oh yeah, that cat died. It's just a disposable cat though. Throw it out the window. We don't need that puzzle piece. We actually need the spark of consciousness that has been animating and living as that cat, or as your loved one, or as your mom, dad, or child, or whomever has passed on and is no longer in your area of coincidence. What it means is that they are out of sight of your perception, not that they have gone out of existence, and that they will continue hunting and pecking on the keyboard until they finally find the right note that is their particular trajectory in order to be able to exit this reality. So when we chose as souls and sparks of consciousness to come into reality, according to the brochure states very, very clearly that there is an exit. This is me making my Kermit face, everyone. Zoom kicked me out. Zoom is so rude sometimes. And then you have to do an update, install, blah, blah. My utter apologies. Truly, just making the Kermit face, drink my tea. Okay, attitude over now. Oh, have a mental emotional sorbet, everyone. And I'm going to have to now pastiche together that recording and this recording. Back to right where I was, because I have a mind like a steel trap. Don't worry. We're talking about when you incarnated according to the brochure and chose to come on in here, and what the experience, hold on, I'm going to get my notes up again though. What the experience was supposed to be like in terms of ascension as opposed to death. You were supposed to be able to know that there's a wormhole here. This is where you came from. This is what you're aiming for. And it is literally like a target. Like I'm always showing this, the time vortex from the side, but you're actually not looking at the time vortex from the side. You're looking at it from the bottom up. And so from the bottom up, it ends up looking like a target, like a bullseye. And you literally want to center this, wait, let's get it just right, directly on your forehead. So internally, when you are on target, you will literally see a cross-like structure, equal armed cross-like structure, or equal armed four vortex structure. And that is how you will know that you are on target. And same thing when you're sun gazing, you will literally see this type of structure and you will know that you are on target and you are aligned. So that was part of the brochure. You will enter into reality, you will enter into physical embodiment, and there is an exit point, and it is your job, Joy, to explore finding that exit point, and it does exist. And that is also, you're supposed to be able to be guided by, this is your Christ crystal, that is your internal guidance system that will be able to tell you where that wormhole is at any time. So that way you can, hold on a moment, please, because I want to make sure I don't lose my first recording from earlier in the day. Good, we're good. You don't want, you want to be, I'm sorry, I just lost my place, on target. And the wormhole is constantly shifting. Where is God? God is always shifting. God is not only in one space-time coordinate. God is ever moving, evolving objective. And so that is why we have to be always shifting in the way that we are aligning with God, that wormhole, the source that is also our destination. Okay. Let me read from my notes about what ascension is. This is, again, the intended form for what we were supposed to experience here. Supposed to come into embodiment, have a bunch of wonderful, fun adventures in a state of total health and freedom and divine connection, and then ascend. And I'll tell you also about what ascension was like, to reiterate it again, in the ancient time of Atlantis, or concurrent time of Atlantis. So recognizing okay. Blah, blah. In this cultural paradigm, you get almost no training about what death is or about what ascension is. A lot of fear about death, a lot of Judeo-Christian judgment about death. For anyone who's not really schooled in Judeo-Christianity, Christianity is the outgrowth of Judaism. Judaism is actually the outgrowth of this teaching from ancient Egypt that I'm going to bring to you. The Jews used to be slaves or diminished participants, outsiders on the outskirts of the Egyptian culture. But they were certainly influenced by the cultural paradigm of their day. And Judaism had and has no official teaching about afterlife. And the whole point of afterlife, after existence, is that if you experience the corporeal death, you still have a consciousness momentum, even as you are traversing the membrane of death. The membrane of death in the Egyptian world was known as the duat, D-U-A-T. And the duat is also analogous to the night sky and also the daytime sky, literally the stars and the heavens. And in Tibet, it was called the bardo. And this is meant to be a place of wandering that you have to traverse, not a place that you live in permanently. So once again, back to reaffirm when I talk about like a hallway connecting two different rooms of your house. You're not supposed to live there. And also, you're not supposed to have an encampment of homeless people. And that is what the putis are. They're an encampment of dangerous, addicted, felonious homeless people with like knives and, like evil. I don't have a way to characterize it, but like, like they're like glinting eyes and like, pointing their knives at you, malevolent intentions. And those are never lives. So loved ones who have passed on do not become putis. Putis exist as consciousness fragments trying to self-sustain off of the energy of those who are alive, as you and I are, and those who are recently dead, who are busy divesting themselves of their attachments that they experienced in life. That is what the death process is supposed to be. So divestiture, when you have investments, like I've invested in this and I've invested in this and I've invested in this, when you die, you have to divest yourself of those emotional and consciousness investments. Like I'm very invested in my garden. I care about it a lot. But if I died, I'd be like, wow, like that is no longer relevant to me. I got to let go. You got to let go. And we have to let go of all the things that are temporal temporal, same root word, temporary, not coherence, not longevity, not going to be there forever. But some things are forever. When you form certain relationships and certain bonds, they really are there for forever. Please think about that. You know, when you really care about someone or really love someone or something, it is something that you don't let go of and you don't divest yourself from. Some things are gold, they're untarnished, they stay with you for forever. Some things are mere inconsequentialities that you care about for right now because they're relevant to you right now. I usually use my coffee cup as an example. Like I'm very attached to this coffee cup. Actually, I use it every morning. I use it all the time throughout the day. I'm like, where is my coffee cup? I need my coffee cup. But if I were to die, I would not be like, I better bring my coffee cup or a consciousness remembrance of it with me because I'm going to. It's like, no, it was very relevant to me during my incarnation, but it is not that relevant to me now because I'm moving into a world where we don't drink coffee. But hi, good to see you and thank you for tuning in. But for example, like my love for my dog, totally bonded with my dog. And I tell her all the time, you're the love of my life and I love you forever. Like really be shameless or whatever. Be totally uninhibited is the word. Be uninhibited in professing your love when you are alive and when you're still in the area of coincidence with people, truly. Love is eternal and love is untarnished. Real love travels with you across time, space, and dimensionality, and it never leaves and it never goes away. Very, very powerful, profound stuff. If you need to have guidance in this world where there's a totally secular, materialistic world where there's almost no guidance about how to live your life, invest in love. You don't have to invest in a bunch of stupid nonsense, Bitcoins and stuff like that. Invest in love. Love relationships are the things that you will take with you and that are of ultimate value to you as a soul. Let me just go back to my notes and keep on refocusing. Okay, so to counteract the cultural programming here about, oh, wait, you got a question. Before I go back to my notes, let me hit this question. Pedro says, when we ascend, is there a limit or boundary of what ascends with us? Since our light body is larger than our physical body, is it just our bodies or things we have at the moment, air in our lungs, what we just ate, a spider on our shoe, a book in my hand, the chair I'm sitting? Oh, I love your question. You're very intelligent. Thank you for that. When we ascend, we bring with us all that we identify with as self. So this is big. It's kind of like if I'm going to travel interdimensionally, do I take my fillings in my teeth with me? I hope so, because I don't want to arrive in my destination with like a bunch of cavities. Like, oops, I left my fillings behind. How about, do I take my parasites with me? No, I don't take my parasites with me. So we travel with and encompass as self-identification all the things that are truly ourself. Body parts. And yes, so there's a thin line between like, I have just eaten or drank some food, it is undigested in my stomach, as opposed to something that is glucose in my bloodstream, as opposed to something that is stored energy in my liver or in the fats of my body. Like, so technically it's all the same stuff, it's all food, but it's like, would I leave behind my partially digested stomach leavings and then only have the glucose in my bloodstream? Would I have glucose in my bloodstream? All these different things. The answer is, once I eat and drink something, I internalize it as self. Would I bring my pee-pees and poo-poos with me? No, I don't internalize those things as self. Those are the leavings that I don't bring with me. But all of those are very physically, materialistically oriented questions about the actual somatic body structure and what will happen with that. Like technically your hair is no longer alive, even though I definitely identify with my hair as still a part of myself. And then also the outer layers of our skin are technically no longer alive, even though they are still identified with as necessary parts of yourself. Because if you don't have your outer epidermis, your skin will be incredibly sensitive and easily burned. So even some dead cells in our body, we still identify with as self. But beyond the answer about the physical structure of your body when you ascend and when you re-achieve light speed, we're really talking about personality structures. What characteristics and personality structures do you identify with as being eternal? Pedro says, great, because my favorite jeans are a part of me, like his pants, his Levi's jeans. That's right. Because you know what? Once you break in a good pair of jeans, like that's golden. Now you got to keep that, or like whatever. I have a denim jacket that I've had for 20 years. And I'm like, no, I don't want to get rid of that denim jacket. But it is relevant to my Aurora body. It is relevant to the size, shape, and necessities of my organism body in this world. But when we ascend, we will experience a different contextual reality where you might not need to wear denim jackets. You might not need to wear any clothing. That is truly what the world is like that I come from, co-inhabit, and intend to return to fully and invite you to come there too. It is a world of non-sexualized nudity where you are literally clothed in rainbow. You have a rainbow energy field around you, and that the idea of wearing clothing is only for a sense of not necessity covering, not because you would be cold, definitely not out of shame, none of the Garden of Eden fig leaf type of stuff, or to protect yourself from the unwanted gaze of those who would sexually objectify you. You can simply walk around not having to wear anything. Like, imagine living in a perfect paradise, an ideal climate. There are no bugs or mosquitoes or thorns, kind of like Hawaii before it was colonized and thorns were planted there. And there's no one unsafe that you have to protect yourself from. And there's no shame and no judgment and no body dysmorphia, none of this sense of like wanting to hide a body part because you feel it is ugly or inappropriate, and respectful celebration of everybody's unique body shape. It's kind of amazing. I don't know. I speak these words to you because I feel like I want to tell you about what the real world is like, and that you've mostly only ever experienced this very unreal but prevalent, harmful fictional world that is here, where like, oh, like you're not, in some countries, you're a woman, you're not allowed to show your ankles. You will be beaten if you show your ankles. Those are forbidden body parts, the world of forbidden body parts, to protect you from unwanted sexual objectification, or anybody who doesn't like a particular body part and wants to hide it on the beach or something like that. Like all of that. Just, I don't know if you remember the movie Superman. Superman has X-ray vision. He can look through your clothing, but he doesn't do that because he's really a Boy Scout. But that's what I'm kind of talking about. We exist in a world where you can see the totality presence of a person. If you could see a person's like digestive juices in their stomach and their lungs and their blood pumping and everything about them, like, you know, wearing a bikini or something like that is just kind of like a non-necessity for any kind of reason. But again, you might want to wear something for a decorative purpose. And when you are ascended and when you are a pure light form, first of all, you don't always have a face and two arms and two legs, but there's no more effluvia. So that is the difference between who you are now and who you were in ancient Atlantis. Because when you're a light eater, you can still have formful presence, face, two arms and two legs, and be a light eater. You may not necessarily have transcended anthropomorphic form yet, but the key is you no longer have dead cells on your body because death doesn't exist. So the entire functionality of your body changes, and you no longer are, like, you guys understand, like you're using a ton of life force energy, like gushing forward, like gotta make new cells and make new cells and make new stem cells. And that's good and positive for who you are now. And then your body's also like, gotta get rid of dead cells, rid of dead cells, rid of dead cells. And usually I do my hair once a week, brush my hair, and I'm like, that's all the dead hair that came out. And then my scalp is like, no, I'm going to make new hair that will come out. And you get sweat stains in your tank tops and all these different things. We don't have that in the world where you eat pure light. Your cells don't die. You don't have effluvia like skin, sweat, dead skin cells, oils, and other things like that come off of you. It's a very, very different world. And I joke about, you can dress as impractically as you want. You don't have to worry about your dry cleaning bills of wearing a silk blouse and how much it costs to have to clean it. But really, those types of garments or anything like that is really only done as an artistic expression, an adornment, kind of like my earrings. Like my earrings express, they're my little Flying Rainbow Lasagne earrings. They express a lot about who I am, and they're a decoration, but I don't really wear them like to keep me warm or anything like that. Like, I just wear them because I like them. That's really what our sense of comportment is like in that level of the world. Just dressing and self-decoration as a sense of artistic self-expression, but not out of practicality and not out of the cultural paradigms of shame. Okay, but that was a very, very good side trip to go down. So the cultural paradigm of this place is, and I was talking about this present cultural paradigm is Judeo-Christian, Judaism having pretty much no teaching about afterlife, but being a responsive outgrowth of the realm of ancient Egypt that I'm about to tell you about, that was totally focused on afterlife. And Christianity being an outgrowth of Judaism that is, again, heavily focused on afterlife, heavily focused on receiving one's reward in an afterlife for actions and values exemplified in the physicality realm during life. But for the most part in the world right now and in the culture that I inhabit and the people that I connect with, there's very little respect, conversation, or teaching or talking about what death is in terms of the journey of consciousness and how we are supposed to live in our day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis in light of the possibility or existence or reality of death as a pathway. And that means in other times and places like ancient Egypt and ancient Tibet, and even some areas of Asia at other alternative times and cultures, the moment of death was considered to be like the culmination of everything. People spent a long time in their life composing these moment of death poems. This is from Asia, like, the time of the samurai. They had a lot of time. They're like, what will be the last thing that I will say in my moment of death? And so they came up with like, some pretty pithy expressions, thinking about it and really expecting it. And that's just a small tip of the iceberg. So let me read and then get into my expression about what is the truth from ancient Egypt. So recognizing and relating so death is an impersonal force. It is a flow of energy. Recognizing and relating to it in a personal sense, as you perceive that it's comprised of all of the final versions of yourself. That's big. All of those little red dots are final versions of you, like frozen at the end of the movie of your life. And that's you, and you should care about them. One cares about those versions of you who died, but they are helping you, this focus of awareness that is in this body here, to shift your consciousness incrementally until you are finally in alignment with the central core timeline that is the path of least likelihood, the ascension pathway back to the source or the zero dimension, which is also infinity and God. So we don't sociopathically disassociate ourselves from those versions of self and say, it's not me, it doesn't matter, that's not real blood, it's just ketchup or any of those things. You recognize real blood, real suffering, real death, that's really you. That version of you serves a purpose in having played the wrong notes of reality in order to help literally to focus your awareness away from those events. Don't be here. Don't be like me. Don't experience these bad outcomes. Instead, shift your awareness, because your awareness is the needle on the record. This is the record, like an old-fashioned, like a Led Zeppelin record, with the needle that goes around like this. You are the needle on the record. The record is the song of your life, and the song of your life contains all of these different possibilities. Some of the possibilities you get hit by a car. Some of the possibilities, a crazy person, shoots you with the GUN. And some of the possibilities, you live a long and healthy, happy life. And the versions of you that die prematurely or violently or, through disease, accident, or self-destruction, they exist in order to help shift your focus, like the way that a telescope, you have these, or binoculars, rotating the lens and bending the light. Or when you go to the doctor for your eyes, they bend the light. Is it clearer now or is it clearer now? Is it clearer now or is it clearer now? That is the process that we are going through in terms of the refocusing of your awareness. So that recontextualization should help you to feel less fearful and also feel less of a sense of grief. And there's also this question of like, it ain't fair. Why did that happen? I'm so angry and disappointed at God and at the world that someone or something that I love died. Why did that happen? So a lot of people go very genuinely, justifiably into a sense of righteous anger. And I hope that this information can help you to move through those levels of righteous anger as you start to learn there is a meaning and a purpose behind that, not just random pain and suffering. There is a meaning and a purpose, although it is avoidable and it is not part of God's original intention for you. There is a meaning and a purpose that comes from the suffering and death and very real pain of those versions of you in negative outcome, alternate realities. And the answer with all of them is go in a better direction. Go in a better direction, which basically amounts to within the volitional choices of your life, that is like a choose your own adventure game, make different and better choices. Some aspects of our lives are not within our volitional control. Some things are. In navigating this time field, I don't want to say playing the video game of your life, but in navigating this time field, there is a pathway that is created for you that is totally individuated, where if you make certain choices and do certain things, you will arrive at that wormhole that is the pathway out of here, the path of least likelihood. It's not a one-size-fits-all garment. Everybody needs to make their own choices. And this is also why organized religions and other very formal templates are just not applicable, because there is not an off-the-rack outfit that's going to fit everybody's unique soul body shape. You must handcraft your garment. And so I'm going to read, and then I'll talk about handcrafting that garment. In ancient Egypt, it was called your bark. Barque. So in Egypt, they had the Nile River, and the Nile River, they use rafts and shallow boats in order to navigate there. So the bark is like a raft, a shallow boat to be able to get across the river. And the river was the Milky Way in the sky. And that the idea is that upon death, you must traverse a river, a membrane, and get past that boundary in order to burst forth into the next dimension, which is a dimension of pure love. And that is the dimension that I come from and that I cohabitate even while I am here vibrating into this body. And again, I give you all of these reminders and breadcrumb trails to be able to follow and remember and align with that path. Every path must be unique, because your journey through the time field, you have a unique beginning, a unique tumbling gyration through time. This is tumbling gyration through time, and then a unique diving through that wormhole portal into the next dimension. That it truly is a dimension of pure love. And so when we were talking jokingly with Pedro about what do we bring with us, only love and above. The only carry-on baggage that you can bring when you fly, as experts do, when you do star travel, when you go through a stellar portal, when you ascend, when you go through the source or the singularity or the zeroth dimension, the only stuff you can bring with you is the stuff that is love and above. Love being a very particular measurable frequency range. And that is the basis for all of these other higher level experiences. So there are a lot of emotions that are the denser emotions that we do not bring with us. Grief, anger, sadness, hatred, revulsion, also sexual attraction. All of that stuff is lower than love. All of that stuff is orange chakra stuff. Is actually not relevant to the world of pure love. Yeah. So that also should give you a very, very clear a guidance in terms of if some astral creature wants to offer you physical, mental, energetic, sexual intercourse. Be like that. You don't sound like you come from the world of pure love, because the world of pure love is not about sexual attraction or procreative sex. Got it? That's all exploitation stuff. And the lower astral or the astral realm has been in many ways encapsulating this world, as it has built a type of organization there, not civilization again, because I don't call them civilized, but it's been crapped up with a lot of crapola, and they built a lot of crapola infrastructure there, and it's so much crapola that it's hard to navigate through, and that in many ways you don't even get the clear signals from the realm of pure love. But there's a lot of the crapola stuff that's like, oh yeah, like I'm an ascended master, let's have hot astral sex. I'm being facetious here, and I'm also teaching you and warning you so that as young consciousnesses in your process of maturity, you don't get fooled. You don't get fooled by that, because true ascended masters are not like, they don't want sex from you. The desire for sex, feelings, and procreation is totally orange chakra, lower chakra stuff. And that is not stuff that comes with you into the world of pure love. That's it. So if you are trying to remember what is that world of pure love like, you might actually have to dial your own experience back to a time before you went through puberty, maybe when you were a little kindergartner, before you were sexualized, before you even knew about sexuality, when you lived in a realm that was, of course, sensual, and you had sensual pleasures and you knew what pleasure was, but it was not about that sense of intercourse and gratification with a partner. And all of that stuff is totally, I'm telling you, does not come with you. So what comes with you, what you bring with your carry-on bags, is everything that is of love and above. I know this is big stuff, and I'm open to questions about that. Oh, so Marie has a question, and she says, so we don't create anything with sexual energy? No, we create everything with sexual energy, but sexual energy is more accurately termed creative life force energy. Here it is used for sexual intercourse and physical procreation, making babies. But sexual creative energy is also used for making paintings, making music, innovating new ideas, or I can hold up the lasagna, innovating new ideas, healing of the body, restructuring reality, pretty much making anything manifest and happen. So in this world, as it's been a degraded world, life has had to continue onward in spite of the degradation and diminished connection to source. And so all of that creative energy that should be a part of the higher faculties up here, that should be about telepathy, direct reality manifestation, amazing levels of imagination, mostly doesn't get up here. Mostly it stays in the lower abdomen and is experienced only as sexual intercourse, orgasm, and sexual gratification. And I didn't preface this teaching, if anyone has young people or people that don't know what these things are, that like parents should talk to them about their children before they watch this video, that this video is geared for adults, but I didn't know that we would delve into this territory conversationally. But I always try to be very, very respectful of not initiating young people into these thought structures. Parents and people that care about you in your life should initiate you into these thought structures. And then when you grow up, then I can tell you more about, aspects of what I teach. Let me I want to get to my notes, but more questions. Wait, more questions. Hold on a second. Melissa has a question, says, did Egyptians think the only option was death, and so therefore they properly prepared? Yeah. So what the Egyptians thought and felt and lived the truth of is that if you live your life correctly, and living your life correctly means not merely being focused on the materialistic gains of this world, but if you prepare for the next world. And preparation for the next world involved accumulating enough physical resources in this world to be able to build a tomb that would be a house of eternity for you. That's like saying, when you have a child, you are spending a lot of time saving for that child's college tuition. Like a lot of people are like, yep, I just had another baby. Got to start that bank account going so that I get their college fund going, because you know that they are at a certain point are going to want to matriculate, and you're going to need this much money to be able to pay their tuition. The ancient Egyptians looked at death as matriculation, and that your whole entire focus of your life was to accumulate enough physical wealth or resources to be able to pay the tuition to get to where you need to go. So they recognized that the dead in their world still needed some form of sustenance. In physicalities, you need to have a house to live in, and in death, they needed to have a house to live in. And this was recognized as a tomb. Or if you were not wealthy enough to have a whole tomb, like a whole, stone shrine built to you, a small shrine in your family's house. And the dead also need to be fed. Either offerings of physical food are brought to the tomb or buried with the deceased, or small amounts of the daily meal are set aside for the dead in order to eat. So all of these things were looked at as, like, when you're dead, you're going to need stuff. You're not just going to need nothing, you're going to need stuff, which is actually not the truth, because what was I just telling you? Like, you're not going to need a coffee cup because you don't drink coffee there, because otherwise they would bury me with my coffee cup or something like that. Something very silly, my structured water stuff, because like Aurora's going to have to structure her water in the afterlife. But we live on a different sustenance in the afterlife. We live on the essence of food, and the essence literally of the food that we have consumed in life. So actually, what I will live on in my afterlife, I won't die a physical death, I will ascend along with many of you. The memory of that fried chicken. I tell you about that fried chicken all the time. It was so good. It was so good. Do you want me to describe it to you one more time? Soaked in buttermilk, perfectly breaded. They fried it in lard, but I'm telling you, that was the best crispy outside that it could possibly be. Totally juicy, totally amazing. And I ate it sitting at like their kitchen countertop. They had a fire going. It was Christmas time. So like a very warm, glowing interior, holiday decorations everywhere, a beautiful party, lots of people talking. And I just said to everyone, like, just shut up, like, don't even talk to me. I just need to eat this chicken for a moment. And I just totally internalized on it, and the feeling of it on my fingertips and the feeling of what it was like to eat it. That is what I will be sustained on. And guess what? I'm a chef of the mind, and I will happily beam that sustenance to you when we meet each other in the next world. Be like, Aurora, I want to taste some of that fried chicken from your holiday party. I'd be like, I'm happy to do so, as long as you will share with me a sense memory from one of the greatest things that you ever ate, whatever it was. If it was like something special that your mom made, a special dessert, or a special meal that you had someplace. That is literally the focus and the purpose for what we do when we are here in embodiment. We are here to create these profound sense memories that we can imprint upon, and that is what we carry with us. That is the gold. That is the gold that we carry with us of why it is worthy to go through all of the peril and uncertainty of coming here as a soul and as consciousness. And it's not just food, but there are many other incredibly positive, valuable sense memories that we can share with one another. That can be about like hugging your dog or watering your garden, or things that are very valuable and amazing. Pedro says, I'll share some taquitos de carne asada. I can taste them now. I think that sounds amazing. Beautiful. And whoever, had prepared them for you, if you prepare them for yourself. Yeah, it's actually one of the things that the newly arrived in the afterlife do. Like chef of the mind will share food. We will be the chef for one another and bounce these food memories back and forth to one another. I have so many good ones. So many good ones. That almond croissant that I ate while I was standing at the cafe, like on the sidewalk, kind of one of these like standing up tables on the sidewalk, eating the almond croissant, and my dog was with me, and like, the crumbles of the croissant, they kept on falling down on the sidewalk, and my dog kept eating them, standing in the sunlight eating this croissant. I have a lot of really special memories that are like that. So wait, I will get to more questions. Let me get a little bit, stay with my flow of what ancient Egypt was and what ascension was to them. So they recognized the inevitability of death, and they looked at death as a test that you would face. You had to be able to pay your tuition to die successfully, and you also had to go through your initiation and preparation in life, so that when you got to your death portal, you would know what the F was going on. And to the Egyptians, death was a test, like testing your breaking point of your soul and whether you have soul integrity. You had to go through various different challenges and obstacles in crossing the Duat. Before you went to those challenges and obstacles, you went to the Hall of Mat, M-A''A''T. Mat means balance, and you faced a giant scale. These are the scales of balance, and we have many different cultural outgrowths of the scales of balance, like the scales of justice and all these other things that are part of later cultures that grew out of that. in the Hall of Mat, your heart, the center of your emotions and consciousness, was weighed against a feather. Feathers are light. Got it? A comparison of who you are according to your light body, your light codes. So it's not just being heavy-hearted, like, oh, I felt guilt, shame, or remorse, and something weighed me down. And then they're like, no soup for you, get back in there. No, not like that at all. A literal comparison. Here's what you were shaped like, and here is your perfect light code. Do these two things overlap perfectly? No, there was a little problem here. And the comparison or weighing of your heart was meant to prepare you for the obstacles that you would face in crossing the duat. Crossing the duat, this, like, you know, this show like American Ninja or whatever, all these different, they're obstacle course shows for these super athletes that can do these amazing things. Like, first you're going to have to go across these monkey bars, then you're going to have to jump across a pit, then you're going to have to, you know, climb a rope, then you have to swing in an unlikely fashion and fall, you know, land on a trapeze, then you have to climb a brick wall, like all these different things. And then you get to the end, press the big red button, you're like, yeah, I did it. That's what crossing the duat is like. So again, the analogy of the duat, literal analogy, not metaphor or figurative analogy, was that there is a bark that is the sun bark. When you look at the solar disk in ancient Egypt, this was recognized to be the sun bark of Ra. Ra, in their culture, recognized as the deity of solar consciousness. They had an incredibly sophisticated culture that recognized the sun not only as the life giver of all heat, light, and life-giving information in our world, the sun that makes seeds grow, that sustains us, that makes it possible for us to have plants and animals, but also the sun that feeds our consciousness. There are many beautiful carvings that remain from ancient Egypt, a ray coming from the sun with an ankh, and the ankh is going into someone's mouth. It represents consciousness, the sun giving us light codes, the sun giving us guidance through our lives. Sophisticated culture, as opposed to 1800s Northern European ethnocentric misinterpretation, as ancient Egypt artifacts were uncovered in the 1800s, and as the hieroglyphics were beginning to be deciphered, a huge amount of condescension from the Northern Europeans. They were so unsophisticated that they worshipped the sun and thought it was a person. How silly. I dropped my opera glasses. I thought it was so silly. I'm being very facetious, and I'm making fun of Northern Europeans because I think they can bear it. I don't make fun of cultures usually, but I think they can bear it because they're kind of like the whatever cultural paradigm at this point. They condescended to the ancient Egyptians and thought they were silly Stone Age sun worshippers, like, the sun, we must sacrifice to the sun so that way we have our crops. But really it was much more sophisticated than that. And it's everything that I teach you about the sun, solar consciousness, the path of light, and the connection to Christ, larger scale Christ consciousness, all light everywhere, all sun stars everywhere, neurology on galactic scale. That's where the ancient Egyptians were really coming from on this. But like every great culture, there was a time of high culture in ancient Egypt, which then devolved. And so the original purpose of ancient Egyptian, I call it not a religion, but a funerary tradition, was to focus during your life on the attainment of death. You had to learn about, there's a book that is erroneously mistranslated as the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Again, from 1800s Northern Europeans who had only recently uncovered those papyri and translated the scrolls as they were beginning to, the Rosetta Stone, which was discovered during one of the conquests by Northern Europeans of the Middle East. They said, oh, these carvings and these funny pictures mean something. And then when they translated the book, according to the Rosetta Stone, they said it means the Egyptian Book of the Dead. But it actually is translated accurately as the Egyptian Book of Coming Forth into Day. And the description is about the journey of darkness or shadow realm or astral realm or underworld that the newly departed or deceased person has to go through in order to join and become a part of the sun bark of Ra. So I speak about this because the Egyptians looked at the daytime sky and the nighttime sky as literal allegory. The sun comes up. This is the solar disk at the bottom of my screen here. The sun is rising. It is the dawn. This is the birth of the day. There are godlike creatures that exist on this sunbark. It goes across the sky in the same way that a raft goes across the Nile. Here we are at high noon, the middle of life, the prime of life. And then here we are as the sun is going down, older age, decrepitude, and then into death. And when the sun is in nighttime, it is on the other side of our planet. It is not visible to us. That is the journey of the underworld. The master teacher has arrived. Come on over, girl. Come over. You can do it. Come on over. Let's say hi to everyone. Master Cheeky has arrived. Oh, Cheeky. Cheeky will be bringing with her all of the fun expressions. You can't really see her over here. All of the fun times that we've spent walking in the park. She actually has a very, very favorite I don't know if she has like a favorite flavor that she'll transmit to us, in an afterlife experience, but in our park here in the center of town, there's like a little footbridge that goes across a little stream. And on the other side of the footbridge, there's a dog food store. And that is Cheeky's favorite place in the world. And she has a little map where she knows like how to get to that bridge, any place from town, all these little paths that all converge on that bridge. She's like, because I know that bridge leads to the dog food store where there are treats and goodies. And so that is definitely what her, whatever heavenly afterlife positivity realm will include, the wonderful memories that we have created together of us walking through the park and Cheeky leading me across that bridge. Because when we get to that bridge, she sees that bridge, she's like, oh, we're at this part. And then I know if we just go here, 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 and here, then we will get to the dog treat store. So master teacher Cheeky will be leading us towards whatever little liver snaps or, dried pieces of chicken or something like that she really likes. A brief moment of levity while talking about some very profound cosmological teachings here. So the sun bark of Ra goes across the entire sky during the day. It's similar to the transit of a raft across the Nile. And then it goes into the state that we would consider to be the underworld, or the shadow realm, or the place of darkness. And that is what all of the trainings during your life were supposed to be about. Like, you have to train for these ninja obstacle course things. You got to do a ton of push-ups and pull-ups. There's a lot of upper body work that you're going to have to do. And in spiritual aspiration, you have to do your training. So some of these ancient Egyptian temples, I'm trying to remember which one it was, but one of them had literal obstacle course trainings for the disciples that were learning about afterlife by being a part of that particular temple. And one of them had this underwater swimming. You had to swim, and there were real crocodiles, in life. You had to swim through something that had real crocodiles and be able to get apart from, successfully get to the other side. All of this is to hone and train the participant to get you to understand you're going to face obstacles. There's going to be monsters. You're going to be confused. You're not going to know your ASS from a hole in the ground, but you're going to have to keep going somehow. And also the sense that you have your own individual bark or raft. That is your light body. Your light body is constructed and comprised of various ideas. Each one of my fingers is an idea, and it's a plank. It's a plank that makes the raft upon which your consciousness flows. And so it's essential in life to create a really, really strong, airtight raft, watertight, so that it will carry you forward. This is what we do with the cultivation of the light body. This is what you do with getting your chakras to be in balanced alignment, aligning with that central core timeline, ejecting jettisoning the non-essential personality characteristics of who you are, whom you are not, and identifying with and carrying with you only the truth of who you are. You get rid of your sandbags, you jettison the ballast so that you're able to travel light, and you create the structure of your light body. Because when you either die or ascend, here's what happens. You get hit with a blast of light, full on fire hose of light. The light is information. Right now, you get a trickle of information, a small amount, not too much to burn you or overwhelm you or to cause an instantaneous state change from solid directly to plasma. That's not what you want. I've talked about the negative times that has happened. I talked about that in the lesson about cancer. The pulsar that was created, like the pulsar expanded, it's like instant state change of your whole entire planet, or something like not to be too lighthearted about it, the detonation of the nuclear weapons over Hiroshima and other areas of Japan, instant state change for the people that were in the blast radius of that horrible weaponry. They didn't get a chance to even look at their watch, be like, wow, what time is it? Poof, 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 and gone. That is not what the sun wants for us. So just like I have my little microgreen seedlings, I don't fry them. They have like a gentle light that is not too strong for them because they're only little tiny things. When you have a big, giant, well-established sunflower, then yes, it can be out in the noonday sun. But when you have a little tiny seedling, you want it to receive just the right amount of light. But the idea is that throughout your life, you cultivate and accrete light, information, data, sentience, orderliness, intelligence, become more and more intelligent and ordered in your being. And then when it is the moment of either death or ascension, it's your big debut, like your debut. This is from the cotillion, like a different time, a finer time, a pinkies up time, when young ladies debuted in society. That was when you became marriageable. You had your coming out party. You got it? Coming out. And you need to be prepared and to have all of your manners and know how to dance and walk with a book on your head, right? To have good posture and all these different things that are considered ladylike things. And of course, gentlemen were a part of it as well, to be able to join society. Because when you have a well-crafted, individuated raft or light body, you are able to traverse the duat or the area of darkness and confusion and make it to the sun bark of Ra. I can point to the solar disk right back here. I should move this thing so you can actually see it. You can tell I sit there and I do my different computer stuff. Well done. You make it to the solar disk, the sun bark of Ra, and you get to hop on board a light vehicle. You as an individuated light presence with all of your chakras in perfect alignment and all of your thought structures in perfect alignment become a fractal whole, become part of the fractal whole of a much, much larger, perfectly structured reality conglomerate, a collective that is part of God's. Like, I'm trying to find the right word, coherent, long-lived, eternal light body presences who have transcended the need for death and exist and circulate their consciousnesses in a highest dimensional reality, no longer incarnating into the physicality world. That is what ascension is. That is what we are going through as individuals and as a planet right now. Our whole entire planet is in the process of ascension. And in order to do this, like everyone is going to have to do like some super, super fast weightlifting and getting yourselves in shape. Because again, your culture has not prepared you for this. Your culture has prepared you for death and destruction, fearfulness. And when you hit the membrane of death, or when you enter into the afterlife, or when you enter into the duat or crossing the bardo, you take with you the momentum of what has brought you up to that moment. Again, you're the equation, moment, dot, 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 plus this moment, plus this equals final moment. That's all of the accumulation of momentum of your thoughts and your expectations and your cultural paradigms that bring you up into that moment of the springboard, your debut, your coming out party, when you jump into larger reality. And you very much bring with you the momentum of what has carried you there. So people who have no training are just like in supreme turmoil, like they just don't even know what to do. people who have a lot of negative training. Maybe you come out of one of these belief systems that's all about judgment and persecution, even hatred, that can be perpetrated or propagated into the membrane of death. It's not healthy stuff. Like, I really take issue with some of the theological teachings of Christianity about sinful nature of man, hell, and the existence, the described existence of the origin of demons, or the necessity of Lucifer or Satan. Like, I take issue with all these things. These are thought seeds that are planted in you that create an expectation of reality. And literally, when you enter into afterlife, you are directly creating reality. However, entering into afterlife and directly creating reality as a lucid dream is different than when you Flying Rainbow Lasagne and you participate in reality embodiment as a lucid dream. So I am here as you are. I'm in a physical multicellular body. I do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne. Life is a lucid dream where my inside is externalized in my outside. And also I follow the musical score of being alive in the symphony of life, meaning I'm manifesting things according to the patterns that have coherence and longevity to stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. But when you are in an afterlife realm, you can manifest stuff that's just crazy crapola music. And a lot of people do, which is why the lower astral realm of the duat or the bardo can be a place that is scary, full of monstrous projections, full of random nonsense projections. You know what? I think that's actually harder to deal with. Like, like a slavering toothy monster that's like, rah, 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 like, like that's a monster. But then just stuff that doesn't make sense, that, because this is me, like, I'm highly analytical and you can tell that about me. I'm like that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Like, that's definitely something that slows me down, because I could stand there for forever being like, you and you don't make sense. Your math homework is all wrong. You're wrong. They're like, we're wrong, blah, 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 blah. Nothing matters, nothing matters. That's what you face a lot of in afterlife, because some people are not well structured. And I was telling you about the fire hose of information, because when you die or ascend, what happens is you get blasted with the fire hose of information, not just drip, 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 but the totality of the profound truthfulness of the nature of everythingness. Wow. Like that much. And if your personal belief system and the raft that you sail upon in terms of your light body, which is constructed of thoughts, is not well constructed, your tensile strength is not enough. You get crushed. Like, I don't know if you ever made one of those little experiments or science, math, and technology type of things where you have to build a little bridge out of toothpicks or something like that. Matchsticks, build a little matchstick bridge, and then see what is the tensile strength of your bridge. Like, how many eggs can it hold? You're like, okay, like, let's put another egg on top of it, put another egg. At a certain point, it's like, nope, like, oh, this it fell, broke all the eggs. This one fell, it broke all the eggs. You get it? You have to form the structure, the polygonal structure of your light body in a very, very specific way, not only to go through the door, that is the door to the source, that is a frequency door. That's in my song, Symphony of Life. Go through the frequency door, 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 door. You have to be shaped the right way, like the way that a key fits in a lock. You have to be shaped the right way to go through the door, and you also have to be shaped the right way in order to mitigate the immense, profound intensity of the force of intelligence. An egg is a successful shape because of the way that it mitigates forces. I've already told you the story of how I had my groceries in the back of my car, perilously angled so that the eggs were on the top, and I stopped short and the whole grocery bag tilted forward, and I heard the eggs dump out. And this is me driving home like, oh no, I heard that fall over. I'm going to have a big mess to clean up in the backseat of my car. Get back home, open up the door, look and see. And amazingly, the eggs rolled out of their container, but they didn't break. Why is this? Because the egg is a miracle shape. The ovoid nature of the egg has been designed and has been developed biologically in order to protect its contents, and is very, very successful at protecting its contents. It mitigates forces. That means that when it falls, it maintains its integrity. It's very, very, very well structured. And there are some other shapes or polygons that are similar to that, that are incredibly well structured. And that means that if you subject it to high levels of force, I don't have another word for it, stuff happening to it, it's not going to break apart. But if you have something that is not well shaped and not well formed, like let's say, something is supposed to have a 90-degree angle, but let's say, oh, it's kind of like this, or let's say it's kind of like this. And then you don't have this equalization of forces. When you begin to subject that thing to a lot of forces, it breaks itself apart. It shakes itself apart. It has a lack of structural integrity. This is what I'm talking about all the time when I say coherence and longevity. So your light body has all of these amazing S-shaped curves, sine waves, and you want to be coherent. You want to have all of your waves moving together. This is what you cultivate in your body. Cultivate in your body. Cultivate in your body all the time. This is what my lasagna dance is, and this is what many other practices are as well. Things like Qigong that are about cultivating these forms in your body so the energy is flowing in these positive, perfect directions, that when you get submerged in the sea of consciousness and you no longer have the buffer of physical material reality around you, you don't get blown apart. This is 100% impersonal. When I talk about playing the right music, that doesn't sound very good, but like, be like, that's a good song, and I'm going to play that, and it sounds good because the sound waves fit together. Thought, this is a good thought structure. My thoughts are shaped the right way. So thoughts are non-arbitrary. Successful thoughts are non-arbitrary. The successful thoughts that you have to think in order to maintain your own coherence and longevity and make it across the duat and get to be a part of the sun bark of Ra are non-arbitrary, just like the series of thoughts that you have to think in order to no longer eat physical food, but eat pure light, which is what you do when you live on the sun bark of Ra, are non-arbitrary. First, you think this, then you think this, then you think this, then you think this, and then you're over here thinking and doing this. So all of these things that were taught in what is known as the mystery schools, that's what I should have started with like an hour and 40 minutes ago, that this information comes to us from ancient Atlantis by way of what is known in this level of reality as the mystery schools, so called because they were held holding information in trust to disseminate it to disciples, because if it were overtly stated, like, here's the book of mysteries and it's on the bookshelf at Barnes and Noble, the regimes of the day would have eradicated it. They would have been like, that's not allowed. You're not allowed to teach people about that. That is far too empowering. Get it off the shelf. Or how about we edit it? Let's edit that stuff out of there so that maybe it even says the opposite of what it's supposed to say. And then people will surely not navigate the membrane of death successfully, which would serve the agenda of the homeless felons with their knives, their glinting knives and their, shifty eyes, who are putis, who want you to get stuck on the membrane of death. The people who want, or not people, but the non-beings who are like, we want to make your life hard during the time that you're alive. And then after we want to harvest your consciousness to the membrane of death, and then going to torture you on the membrane of death through these levels of confusion. Impostership is a big one, very, very big. There are imposters on the membrane of death who impersonate real gods or real ascended masters. So there is a very true teacher, Jesus or Yeshua, who is a true Christ. And then there's imposters, multiple or singular, on the membrane of death that are like, I am Jesus, worship me or do what I tell you to do. That's not Jesus. I'm sorry, but that's not it. So here's a rule of thumb. If it doesn't have a coherent love vibration, and if it doesn't have a unique soul signature, it is not a true ascended master or a true godly ray of the overarching consciousness of pure divine thought structure. And there's tons, like I said, tons of imposters. They would be called tricksters, but I have very little patience for any of this, like pinkies up. I'm making that Kermit face. Like, just call it what it is. They're definitely exploiters, usurpers, and criminals. They are criminals. Yeah, and that they try to prey upon those who are not well informed or don't know about their criminal network that they've got spread out upon the membrane of death there. Hold on one moment, thank you. So ancient Egypt, crossing the Duat. Ancient Tibet, crossing the Bardo. I do not have good pronunciation of the Tibetan language, but it is the Bardo Thodol. That is known as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It has in common with the Egyptian Book of Coming Forth into Day, the sense that it is a holy scroll or physical embodiment that aspirants read while they were alive, and that it was also either placed in their room of death after they are dead, or in their tomb, or inscribed upon their tomb. So the Book of Coming Forth into Day was inscribed around a tomb if you were wealthy enough to have a tomb, or as a scroll that you were buried with or mummified with, if that's what you could afford, just to wrap up ancient Egypt, literally mummies wrap up. They felt that preserving the physicality structure in this world helped to preserve the consciousness in the realm of eternity. There is some connection in the sense of your DNA and the dance of your DNA. Your DNA dances for a couple of days, even after your consciousness leaves your body. So when you die, a physical death, your DNA in the now vacant corpse of your body is still vibrating. It's still doing stuff. It's still doing stuff. It takes a little while for the message to reach all of your cells, like, you dead, you dead, you dead. Something big happened and you guys are all dead. And in the process of mummification, the DNA structure is preserved. And that in some ways, so I tell you about the return to light, state change. It's a much slower state change. So state change in a funeral pyre is fast. You're going to light that match, and then over the course of a couple of hours, that body is going to turn from a solid to a gaseous form. In the case of the nuclear weapon over Hiroshima, some bodies were vaporized. They went instantaneously from a solid into a plasma form. And in the case of mummification, there are some mummies that are 5,000, 10,000 years old. They're 20,000 years old. I don't even know how old the oldest mummy is, but they have been preserved for an incredibly long amount of time. I do not, however, equate that with eternal consciousness, even though the ancient Egyptians, their funerary tradition evolved. So what started with the sense of focus on afterlife and achievement, non-corporeal achievement afterwards, then became a corrupted type of mania. Got to make a tomb. Whose tomb is bigger? My tomb is bigger and will last longer. Got to make a mummy. Whose mummy is better? Will my mummy last longer? Will my fingernails be mummified with me? Will my fingernails be with me in my afterlife? All of that becomes, again, a materialistic mania or misfocus on the attainment of, the materialistic attainment of eternal life, as opposed to the spiritual attainment. It's completely the opposite. You want to be focused on your consciousness vessel, not on keeping your cellular structure alive. So I have this in the notes from a long time ago, that really making a mummy just means that, like, you're a slow dissolve pill. Definitely keeps you on the membrane of death longer. Doesn't necessarily mean that you will transcend and reach levels of spiritual attainment. But some people look at that being on the membrane of death as the achievement. That's not the achievement. The achievement is transcending the membrane of death, either through this process of crossing the Duat, or like what the Tibetans talk about, or through ascension. So what the Tibetans have that is very, very accurate and positive to learn about is the Bardo Thodol gives a cautionary tale in navigating afterlife. You will be presented with this: don't go to the first light. You'll be presented with this: don't go to the second light. It's kind of like if you're going to go to a restaurant, they're going to bring you a menu for appetizers. Don't order this. Don't order this. Don't fill up on bread. Don't order this. and then wait for this. And really, in a pristine system, what happens is just as water seeks its own level, the development level of your consciousness seeks out the appropriate level of incarnation, reincarnation, or transcendence that is needed for your soul on its journey. So if you have a certain lesson to learn that is in, let's say, level 1, the menu will be presented to you. You'll be like, I really want to order that off the menu. That is what you need to learn. That is appropriate. If you're like, no, nothing on this menu seems appealing to me, I don't think I want it, then they're like, okay, let's offer you the next menu. And if you look at that, you're like, no, maybe Peking duck. No, I really don't want any of that. And then it's like, okay, how about this menu? And if your soul really gravitates to it, if you're like, I really want that, I want to try that, I've never had that before, that sounds amazing, and you find yourself gravitationally attracted into that particular life experience, and you get incarnated again. I know we live in this world that is not pristine. Let me finish this part about transcendence. If you get offered all of the menus, like, okay, you didn't want this, no Peking duck, how about something from our dessert menu? And you look at that and you're like, I don't know, baked Alaska, I don't know, crepe Suzanne, does any of these things sound good? No, it really doesn't. I'm not into it. Not really connecting with any of those. Then you have literally transcended the need to reincarnate. And that is what happens when you've done everything. You're like, I've been everywhere. You're like, I've already eaten that. I have already tried that. That was good. I don't have to repeat that. That was fascinating. I didn't have to repeat that. That was horrible and gave me a tummy ache. I don't want to have to repeat that. And then you are able to go on to the world of pure light, which is the world from here and above, no more somatic cellular experience or physical embodiment experience, but still individuated on a journey and evolving as a soul consciousness. Your journey of soul evolution never ends. Brings you back to God, and even God is continually evolving and learning and growing wiser and more expansive, if you can even imagine that, evolving on a soul level. So just because you weren't interested in anything on the menu for Earth incarnation doesn't mean that there's nothing for you anywhere. It just means that that restaurant you've transcended, and then you get out of that restaurant, but then you don't just float around like, I'm hungry. You find a better restaurant. You're like, that's the restaurant that I really want to be eating at, and your soul gravitates to there. Okay, now as a brief aside, we live in a crapped up world. We live in a crapped up world that's got a bunch of technological crapitude, not only pooties on the membrane of death. They're like, oh, good, a new person. I can't wait to mess with you. And they're going to jerk you around and do this and do that and all these different things and lie to you and be imposters and laugh at you. And no, not only is that going on, but we also have esoteric secret societies who have so their mystery traditions have been held away from information from the peasants, you guys, and have been accessible to the power structure. And the power structure is like, oh, we are the higher level esoteric society. We know what's going on in terms of being born and dying. And they even have created architecture on the membrane of death. And they even have created soul contracts about who goes to the membrane of death and when and under what levels of circumstance, and then what they will experience there with the Pooties. Lots and lots and lots of contracts, a lot of contracts that were signed in ancient Atlantis. Like, okay, you're going to go into the realm of mortality. You are going to have a cleft lip. You are going to look like a Greek god. That is one of the agreements from way back in Atlantis. Seriously, the terms under which you will be incarnated into physicality in the realm of mortality. And if you agreed with the regime, be like, you get to incarnate looking like a Greek god. If you don't kiss the ass of the regime, like, you will look like Quasimodo. There you go. Okay. This totally belies any sense of karma, any sense of just justice and karma. Hi, girl. Hold on one second. And the sense of, I have to move the things so that she can more effectively come into the room. She's a really good dog. She doesn't want to step on my computer. This is how good my dog is. Karma would be a pristine system where it's like, oh, you did good, and that way you were born into a nice, healthy body in a rich family with a wonderful education, everything you could possibly want, and all of the toys and all of the tutors and all of the teachers. Except what really happened in ancient Atlantis was when our place got invaded, some people were complicit like the Vichy government in World War II in France. They're like, sure, Nazis. Yes, we're your best friends. SpongeBob face. We're your best friends. Yes, be nice to us. Be nice to us. Some people did that in ancient Atlantis. And they're like, okay, good. You're going into the realm of mortality and you'll have a nice, comfortable existence in a rich family with a nice face, with a naturally nice butt or something like that. And then the ones who resisted the regime, they're like, I'll never. They're like, fine, exactly. Like, you can incarnate into a very, very poor family. You can be an untouchable in India. And yeah, you can look like Quasimodo. So it was doled out as reward and punishment to those who either conformed to or did not conform to the regime. This is the non-pristine system. This is not part of my notes. I have to call this out because it's absolutely essential for you to know this as spiritual aspirants, not only the way that it affected your lives, your own incarnations, and your own family lineages. It also speaks to the power structure on earth of the powers that were. They used to be the powers that be, but they're the powers that were, and that the powers that were learned how to use some aspect of soul distortion technology, not only to determine who you're going to incarnate as and what your face is going to be shaped like as, but also what happens to you through your trajectory of life and your when you die. Soul yoinkage, soul yoink. Like, I see that you've died. I'm going to take your soul, yoink, and I'm going to artificially move it over to here. So the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is actually based upon observational science, these guys in ancient Tibet had extensive research. Like, they followed souls. Like, they could tell this person died over here and then this person got reincarnated over here. This person died over here and then they got reincarnated over here. This person experienced this and then this is what happened to them. That is a beautiful thing. Like, they literally were doing this type of research over many, many, many thousands of generations. So there's some beautiful validity there. And that's in a pristine system, not in a technologically crapped up system where, because what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to be able to be like, I'm dead and I'm releasing myself into the cosmos. Take me to the right restaurant, chef of the universe, lay it on me. I'm ready for whatever I'm going to get. I hope I get sushi. And then you're supposed to get what you deserve. And instead, with the yoinkage of your soul or distortion technology being used, I also use the example of like the claw at the carnival. Like, you got the stuffed animals are in the cage and you use that claw to kind of like reach down, pick up the pink fuzzy bunny, pick it up, and then you want to put it. They do that to you. They're like, you release yourself and you're like, I'm ready to go on to my next life. I died. And then they're like, oh, I'm going to reach down with the claw, get you, and then yoink, bring you over here on a conveyor belt and then plop you down there. And you didn't get what you deserved. You didn't get sushi. You didn't get something delicious as a tidbit. You got like whatever, a pile of corn or something not that good. You're like, oh, this isn't what I really wanted. This isn't what I thought I deserved. Of course not. Non-pristine system. So that's what I have to tell you about now. Like, we're in this process of planetary ascension where you've been coming out of a world that is heavily distorted by secret societies, esoteric societies, artificial intelligence, artificial stupidity, pseudo-intelligence, technological crapitude, and the crappy pooties on the membrane of death who, in case you didn't recognize it, cause the destabilization that causes death itself. There are the residues here that make the machine, the washing machine of your life, go ka-chunka, chunka, 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 chunka until you die. And they're not supposed to be there, but they're like, oh, I'm going to jump into those chakras and then I'm going to destabilize them. I'm going to make that person die. And then I'm going to make their soul go over here. None of this is the way it's supposed to actually be. And I want to give you this as a teaching because I want you to be empowered, whether you die or whether you ascend. I want you to remember me telling you about this. During your life, you're supposed to be building the architecture of your soul, your light body, what you believe and what you are deeply invested in, and who you are as a person over the eternal sense of being, beyond your temporal ego, beyond your temporal attachments to things that you have here, architecture of your soul. There's not a lot of guidance for that in the modern and industrialized world that is largely secular. You just don't get a lot of guidance. And these other cultures gave you guidance, even in the sense of a lineage, where there were others who had died before you and they had already crossed over and that they were there as guides. And that was a very, very special and important thing. But please don't expect that right now, because what you got right now are a lot of imposters. So you think when you cross over, you're like, oh, are you my guides? They're totally not your guides, but they'll be like, yeah, I'm your guides. Come with me. And they're like bringing you into a total hell realm. So you have to be super skeptical about anything that you meet and interact with in the membrane of death. It would be incredibly reductionist to say, well, like, just be a good person, just be a good person. And then when you hit the membrane of death, the momentum of being a good person will simply carry you towards goodness, and you only meet good stuff, like big giant raspberry, like fooey on that. Fooey on that. And I'm definitely can tell you from firsthand that that's not what happened to me. And I'm 100% a good person. I'm 100% an innocent. I'm 100% not a power abuser. And I have had some of the worst imposters, religious imposters, pooties, exploiters, and just black, dark evil stand in front of me in my various experiences. And I know that it is undeserved. So I know that if I am an example of literally pure light, because again, I came here as Aurora. I'm not speaking about the death journey of the woman and the soul who lived for 27 years in this body. I'm speaking about myself, Aurora. So I came from ancient Atlantis. I didn't make a soul contract with people to be able to incarnate down here in this world of mortality. I had already transcended and ascended before that planetary disaster happened. I went through the process. This is what the process of ascension was like before death was invented. You walk on two legs, touching the earth. You are like a battery. Every time you touch the earth, every step is so ecstatic in your pleasure there. And we didn't have sexual procreation then. It was just a state of ecstasy, of energy running up through your body and up through the top of your head, and then energy coming through the top of your head to the earth. And you were a conduit connecting those two beautiful things, remembering that you're God the whole time. And after you walk around having that embodied, individualized experience and interacting with other shards of yourself who are also embodied and individualized, at a certain point, you do the perambulation up the mountain. And this is after living for 500 or thousands or 5,000 or 10,000 years. You have experiences and you eat nothing but light. So you don't have to bring like granola and trail mix while you're walking up the mountain. You eat nothing but light and you accrete light during your experience. And then in your perambulation, you re-encounter these other beings that you've met during your life. Nobody dies, so none of them have died. And it's like, that's that guy from 500 years ago. And you're like, oh, that's that guy from 500 years ago. We had kind of a falling out, and you re-encounter them. And he says to you, thank you for what you taught me. And you increase your light. You're like, wow, that guy is thanking me. He's like, yeah, I know we had a conflict and I know that I said this and that, but you really made my life go in a more positive direction. Thank you. And I honor you. And every person that you re-encounter, difficult relationships and also positive relationships, because someone might be like, you gave me so much. You re-encounter your best friend. You're like, I remember you from 1,000 years ago. I remember you from 1,000 years ago. Oh, you hug. It's amazing. You increase your light. And you do that in this process of ascension. You get to the top of the mountain and you are 100% light information. You are 100% light information. You are at light speed, because all of these interactions that you're having are light. I don't know if you guys know that. Like, I have a lot of light stored between me and my little dog. All of our hugs, all of our kisses, all of our walks in the park. This is all light information, and it flows between us. All of your important relationships and interactions and social dynamics are light that is stored in other people. And your individual and planetary ascension process is the accretion of that light and also the contextualization of it. Light is information that is orderly, not random. So when you go up the mountain and you re-encounter these people, it's in a very specific order that really teaches you, and it structures your light body. And then you get to the top of the mountain and you don't come down again. You don't have to go back to that state of being individualized and walking on two legs. You become part of the society that hovers at that higher stratum, and you need 100% sunlight all the time. So you cannot have a darkness, cannot have the sun go to the other side of the world while you stand there in darkness. You have to follow the sun. And so you hover with this giant floating city and you follow the sun as it goes on its journey around the planet. And the other people can see you in the sky, just like the sunbark of Ra. You're not like, oh, I missed this person and they died and I feel really sad. You're like, that person walked up the mountain and I saw them ascend and they're in the sky. They are the sun. They're following the sun the whole entire time around the planet. I see them all the time. And the activities of the consciousnesses that are part of that band or harmonic collective of consciousness are purely artistic, like a bunch of acrobats that are like touching each other and embracing and then unembracing and then sharing things and singing. And every time you move, it's a music. Like everything that you do is an artistic gesture. It emits sound, it emits light in these beautiful like paintings. And then you do that with your collective for a long amount of time. And at a certain point, you are so together as a band that you don't have to only follow the sun and be tethered to the earth. You are ready to untether from the earth. So you're not just circulating around earth, but go on the entire network of stars. That is what my collective, the Aurora Collective, is. That is who I am. That is where I come from. That is what my name, Aurora, is. And that is what I am still connected to in this time. I bring this forward in order to tell you that I know that I am innocent, and I know that I am worthy, and I know that I'm literally at that level, even as we speak here. So for me, if I enter into a system and the system is full of all like this random bad crapola, and it says, the random bad crapola personifies itself, and it says, I'm part of your mind. I'm your shadow. I'm teaching you things. I'm like, no, no, you're not. My skeptical side eye face. No, you're not. I actually know what's inside of me. You're not inside of me. You're not a part of me. That's not my crap. I didn't make those dirty dishes. That's not my dirty socks. And I can't be fooled, because I'm also like, I've been through this experience. I know what it's supposed to be. And I also contain the divine harmonic template. So I'm like, that's a lie. And that's a bunch of crapola. That would be a laughable, unfunny farce if it weren't actually hurting people. And that's what my experience has been like throughout this ascension process, very, very intensely, at least for the past 5 years, definitely for the past 3 years, because our planet and everyone on it has been ascending really, strongly or intensely over the past 3 years. Also coincident with the social, historical, and health event that is known as the pandemic. And that event has literally been like an anti-ascension or a slowing down of your ascension event. And it coincides with the creation of the barbed wire, anti-ascension frequency fence that has been placed around this planet and also placed around you as an individual. So if you want to know, like if you internalize things and you're like, what's wrong with me? Like, how come I'm not ascending? My shoulders go down. I guess I'm not good enough. No, you're totally good enough. You know what happened? Bunch of crap heads invaded your planet, erected a bunch of technological physical architecture that literally is a frequency fence that makes it very difficult for your light body to come into a state of orderliness and to transcend the frequency fence. And they didn't just put it around the crust of the planet out here, they also put it around your body. It's really, really, really dark, bad, evil, crappy stuff. That is not acceptable. That makes me actually quite enraged. Although, I don't always rant and share my deep emotions here because it's just not appropriate. But I feel it, guys, in the injustice of it, in all truthfulness, with none of my lighthearted facetiousness, the injustice of what has been happening in this world and what you are facing makes me profoundly distressed, causes me a profound amount of pain. And it is literally why I'm here as Aurora. I'm here as an artist and a musician and example. Like I teach by example. I'm like, here's what this is, and here's what this is, and you can follow this as a template. But I also am a fierce protector of those who are in their developmental process. I am a protector of those who are in the ascension process, because again, I was being facetious, but you should be able to just relax and let go. You should effortlessly be like, I surrender myself to God and to the highest consciousness on my journey of the cosmos, and I know that I will go in the right direction. And to think that someone is going to claw you like a fuzzy bunny and stick you someplace, totally unacceptable. Or to think that you are going to hit a barbed wire fence, get zapped, or have to circulate back around, totally unacceptable. So I exist now not only as an artist and a musician and a template for personal growth and expansion, but I also exist as a planetary protector. I'm what a lot of writers in this modern world call guardian race. That is what Aurora is on the impulse of the stellar network in the sky. We are a guardian, or I am a guardian, and basically follow the music of God, bouncing as a neurological signal from star system to star system, setting right things that are out of balance, correcting and rectifying things. So my dance here for the first 18 years, very joyful, like I'm dancing, I'm grooving. And then they press the big red button to be able to turn on this frequency fence and all these things. And not only like it's difficult for me to dance and groove and do my thing, but facing an enormous amount of profound injustice, that it's not just about me setting myself free, but that it is also that it is necessary for me to act in order to hold the door and hold the space, hold the door open and hold the space for your own personal freedom to attain. Because if you open yourself up to anything and then harmful consciousnesses are like, oh, I see that you're open to anything. Oh, I'll just step on in. I'm like, no, out of the way. That's not okay. It's not okay. So yeah, there's a lot, like when I rant against New Age shadow work, and I'm like, that's not you. Don't identify with it. That crap over there is not you. That dog shit that's on the bottom of your shoe is not you. And that smell is not you. Don't identify with it. That's what I'm talking about. This stuff that's in the lower astral, that through the millimeter wave is actually doing a lot of timeline bleed through into reality structure, attempting to hijack reality, attempting to become embodied, even though it never has been embodied for good reason. And it's like, oh, I'm your thought structure. You're responsible for me and you emanated me, and therefore you must identify with me. And I'm like, no, actually, none of that is truthful. And I tell you that with my words. And then even if you never saw this video, I also tell you that with the truthful dance of my DNA and my energy as I emanate it in this world. They can put up cell phone towers that poop out lies all the time, and they can put sky poop lies in the sky. I can put lasagna everywhere so that you can have a different option on the menu to be able to hear actual truth. And that is what I do. And that is, that's where we are in the planetary ascension. Like I told you, the things that I taught about 10 years ago are still totally relevant. And I'm actually very impressed whenever I listen to my original recordings. I'm like, wow, like I remember who I was 10 years ago, and I remember where I was and where the personal and planetary levels of development were at that time. I feel like I was very advanced to be able to say these things and have this conversation way back then. Now it has definitely percolated through and become more prevalent in the community of spiritual seekers and those who are actively seeking this attainment. Now everybody's talking about this. So I'm very, very pleased to see that. And also I always give the current contextualized teaching, which is that you don't live in a pristine system. So just like in the ancient Egypt mystery schools, you had to swim through a crazy obstacle course with all these crocodiles. What I am telling you in your life right now is your embodied living cellular creatures that actually go to the grocery store and drink your coffee and use your toilet paper and take care of your physical bodies. Don't trust the things that you see and experience in the astral, that there's very, very, very little of truth in those signals. And the astral is the realm of dreams. That's when you go to sleep at night and you allow your sub or supraconscious to drive the car of your mind. It used to be in other times that you could simply relax your mind and be flooded with all sorts of imagery and insights that had some genuine truth and value. That's what dreaming is supposed to be, conduit to higher truth. But right now, what I've been experiencing over the past 3 years is conduit to lower poop, not higher truth. And I say this in a funny way, it's actually incredibly distressing. Close your eyes, you relax your conscious mind at night, and someone else poops in your brain all night. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I do the infrared light and all these different personal cleansings and DNA cleansings. And I'm like, what's that crap? Get that out of there. What's that crap? Get that out of there. All these erroneous DNA programs, erroneous consciousness programs, and consciousness poops, like, dream fragments and things. I'm like, that's a bunch of poop. That's not supposed to be there. That's not truthful. All these things. it is frustrating, because what you should do is wake up in the morning and be like, I just spent all night in my higher consciousness and flying around talking to other people's higher consciousness, and I learned so much, and now it percolates through into my daily waking experience. Phooey on that. That ain't happening right now. That is not what is happening right now. So but what you do have is a lot of distortion that is going on, that is placing things in people's minds, and that you also have DNA distortion, which is a crime, flat out cosmic crime. And I'm a cosmic law enforcer. None of it is acceptable, and is part of why my presence is required here, because DNA is sacrosanct. It is inviolable, and for something to come along and try to harm or inhibit or control its behavior technologically through millimeter waves, genetic modifications, injections, biochemical frequency manipulation, like manipulation of your neurotransmitters, and even through the pathogenic wetware. That's at the level of DNA. Like, I don't mean for you to be intimidated, but like that stuff is small, and it creates a whole false DNA architecture. That's kind of like this. You're going in this direction, your DNA is driving you in this direction. It's like, I don't think I like that reality for you. I think I will violently jerk your steering wheel to the side of the road and put you on a worse timeline than you're actually on. And I find myself constantly being like, get rid of the hitchhikers, get rid of the hitchhikers. And this is my steering wheel. I'm going in this direction. Very, very profoundly difficult time, when again, what you're supposed to be able to do in Ascension is relax and open yourself up to highest consciousness guidance, highest consciousness and unity consciousness reunion. And instead, you're having to be like imagine like you're trying to give birth, and giving birth. I haven't given physical birth, but I know some women who have. It is about like relaxing your muscles. You have to be like relaxed. You have to relax and envision like opening and releasing and letting go, and that the baby's coming out. Imagine having to be like in that relaxation mode, but also at the same time, I'm holding up my shield and I'm holding a sword and I'm going to stab this evil one. I'm going to shield up this one, but also relax, 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 and let that baby come out. Like that. These are two very, very different things. So this is birth of the new dimension, relaxing and giving birth, ascending, giving birth to a new level of reality. And having to do that while also shielding yourself from this, fighting this, parrying this, cleaning this stuff out of here. Almost impossible. Totally disgusting to me, actually. It's another thing that enrages me, that, a planet consciousness would have to give birth under these circumstances is incredibly distressing. You should have the birthing suite with a nice jacuzzi and some Pachelbel's cannon, maybe a aromatherapy candle, and be able to have your baby in peace. And instead, like having your baby on a dirty mattress with there's bombs going off, and you're in like a bombed out building. You got it. Like, this is not how Ascension is supposed to be. And I'm very, very sorry to have to tell you that, but I think that that level of honesty should be comforting to you, because instead of disappointing, like, I thought that Ascension was like rose petals and that this would feel so nice. Like, what? Maybe there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. There's something very, very wrong on this planet, and the wrongness of what this circumstance is going on this planet is not just about this planet. It's about a much, much bigger, wrongness that's going on. So this is just a smaller version of the big wrongness, but fixing the big wrongness on this planet makes the entire big wrongness have to shift, even to the point of destabilizing it into the point of no longer existing. So your ascension is inevitable. You must think of yourself as an inevitability particle. The baby is going to be born, even if you don't have the aromatherapy candle, even if there is a war going on around you. You're going to give birth to your own self as the greatest version of yourself that you can be. That's in my notes, actually. Let me read it, because sometimes I just wrote it a lot better a long time ago. Reminder, one of the main teachings of this course is that you are a powerful co-creator of your reality, and you're in the process of learning how to hone that, which during our lives here, we do that through like meditation and mindfulness, raising your energy, like sun gazing and being able to bring it up your spine and sending energy back to the sun. This is all part of reality creation. Hold on, I have to scroll. I know, squinty scrolly faces. No, because this is good. It's going to be worth it. Oh, I haven't talked enough about the Flying Rainbow Lasagne. We'll get to that, because it's how to die without dying and blending the outer and the inner. I got that a little bit. Okay. I wrote these notes as part of the PDF that I call the flight manual, a Flying Rainbow Lasagne manual for flight, the rate of manifestation. So we are conscious and powerful creators of this physical realm. This is what I mean by giving birth to a baby. Baby is the new realm that you live within, what people call new earth, but we can have a different unsullied vocabulary word for it if you want to. We are creators of this physical realm while we are in the physical realm. We are not just emanators of our experience from our minds at the moment of death. When we leave the physical realm, we are emanators of experience even while submerged in the physical realm. And the limiting factor of what you send out might take many years to actually manifest. So when I did the recording 10 years ago, like it might have taken 10 years to manifest something. Like you have a dream. You're like, oh, my dream house. My dream house has a stone fireplace and a big light filled art studio. And then here's my grand piano and all these different things that you might imagine. And back then, it might take 10 or 20 years to be able to manifest that. And then at a certain point, you look at your life and you're like, wow, I remember imagining the stone fireplace and the grand piano, and here all of it is. Then at a certain point, the rate of manifestation has increased and is an asymptotic curve, meaning it goes like this. So it was like, it took 10 years, 20 years, 1 year, 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, a day. Like that, we are now at that point where the process of manifestation happens so quickly that you can manifest something that used to take 10 or 20 years in a day, meaning like creating a new home, creating a new business, totally new life architecture. So I wrote this in 2022. Now in 2022, it has exponentially increased to the point of greater immediacy and relevancy. Your thoughts manifest within a day, an hour, and right before your eyes. That is giving birth. Give birth with God. You put the seed of your own thought consciousness into the generative field known as God and give birth to a new reality. And you don't just do that once, you do that all the time. That is this gushing moving forward. Here's another seed, another reality. And then I'm going to plant another seed, another reality, every minute, another reality, Reality is gushing out all over. That is the creative life force that we experience. So Earth is in the process of manifesting a new reality. The planet that we're on, aside from our own individuation, is in the process of manifesting a new reality. We are co-experiencers of what is being manifested. So I talk about 5D plus. You know, I've already been very clear about, we're not going to the 5D smoothie shop. 5D meaning realm of pure waveform potentialities. My dog is hungry. Hold on one second. We're experiencing an overlapping of third dimensional, but not 3D, as it is condescendingly referred to, physical reality, and the realities of 5D plus, which are pure waveforms. That's what we're experiencing. That's everything that's in all of my paintings, an overlapping of the world where you have an anthropomorphic figure, and you also have your light body of pure chakras, possibilities and probabilities, and you're swimming in a sea of consciousness. And that is what our planet is doing. You're combining these two portions of reality, and that creates an entirely new Earth. What we're really doing is creating a heavenly experience on Earth. That it used to be in the old paradigm, you had to die in order to go to heaven, literally be in the heavens, on the sunbark of Ra, the heavens, the sun, the stars. You do not have to die in order to experience heaven. That was actually not part of the brochure. And that what I really love about my notes in this true teaching is that everything about Flying Rainbow Lasagne is not in contrast with the true teachings of Christianity. It's totally in alignment with the true teachings of Christianity. So the Christian church teaches about the necessity of death and that you must die and then believe in Jesus as the only way to transcend the world of death and get to the other side. You get it? That's why there are so many imposter Jesuses on the astral realm, because people die. And then they're like, wait, I remember I'm supposed to believe in that guy Jesus and that will take me across to get to the other side. And so then all these fake Jesuses come along. Hey, little lady, you need help getting to the other side? Hop on board. I'll take you there. But they're not really real Jesus at all. They're like space pirates and poop. and they'll be very happy to hold you hostage for a long amount of time. You're like, wait, I thought you were really Jesus and you were taking me to heaven. Ha 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 ha. No, I'm actually a harmful felon. And I will stab you with a knife instead. So that's the type of stuff that you have going on. But the true teaching of Christianity that is about transcending death. This is actually, and what is ascension? Wait, let me get on over here. This has to do with your pineal gland, Christ consciousness, connection to your pineal gland, and consciously using your pineal gland to emit reality. Something that is envisioned while in meditation is then experienced and recognized in the outer realm. The Flying Rainbow Lasagne as the impossible shape that blends together the realm of your quote unquote insides, your imagination, thoughts, and passions, and the realm of your experienced reality outside, and this faster and faster vibration that makes your inside potentials and thoughts manifest as your quote unquote outside experienced multicellular reality structure faster and faster, and now is happening almost instantaneously. So lag time in the third dimensional realm is speeding up, doesn't take 10 years anymore. And if your thoughts are moving faster, you can pack many more thoughts into the same amount of objective clock time. I wanted to refer to this. This is a beautiful poem from William Blake, the visionary poet. It's called Auguries of Innocence. And it has the phrase in it, when you can see eternity in an hour. And that is what happens when you increase your own personal rate of speed, of how fast your chakras are moving, and what your own personal frame rate is as reality is flickering around you. Then you get to be in super high definition, slow motion, when you can feel like an hour of clock time has gone by, but to you it felt like an eternity. Some people have experienced this upon ingestion of a hallucinogenic molecule, but those molecules are not recommended. Here's why. I am not merely judgmental. You guys know me at this point. I'm only going to give you the truth. Those molecules don't really give you a real rocket ship blast off, not enough to get through the membrane of death, not enough to get through the astral realm. Those molecules blast you into the astral realm, where you will go a certain amount into it, but not all the way into the pure levels of light, awareness, and love. That is where I come from and what I paint over here. You're never going to get there by taking the molecule. It's just an inadequate vehicle. You don't have enough oomph to escape the gravity well. And so people take the molecule and they're like, oh, like I went up 1,000 feet and then I dropped back down. And they're like, let's do it again. And they're like, I went up 1,000 feet and I dropped back down. It's like, it really amounts to energy harvesting. This up, down, up, down, up, down thing is actually not positive, and actually not positive for your soul. And that's not what ascension is. And it might give some people brief insights, but again, that's not sustainable. So I relate to DMT, which when it naturally occurring endogenous brain chemical, you're only really experiencing it 2 times. It is the doorway for coming into your body and the doorway for exiting your body. You come in during the quickening, when your fetus is gestating in the womb, and then you leave when you die through DMT. But this whole thing of like drinking it or smoking it while you are alive and then going 100 feet up, blasting up, but not really getting all the way there, I don't think that it's a proper way to do things. I don't think it's helpful to you. And I think that it actually endangers you, because when you blast up 100 yards or whatever, then there's all of these like crap creatures. They're like, oh, I see you've blasted up into my dimension. Now I'm going to do a bunch of stuff to you. And you might even think that they're your teachers. They might be like, I'm a teacher. Fake face. I'm a teacher. Listen to me. And they might give you a bunch of false information and program you with a bunch of false crap that actually doesn't help you on your journey when you die, but that just makes you circulate around endlessly. You're like, that's some fun. I get to eat that fun food that I just made because I just told that guy a bunch of crap and lies. Then when he gets to the membrane of death, like I'm sniggering behind my hand. I just told that guy a bunch of lies. He's going to get to the membrane of death. He's not going to go, not going to know what the F is going on. I'm going to eat that guy's soul. These are what these harmful felons do. And then they also think that you're a victim presenting yourself for victimhood. They're like, you took that DMT, you showed up in my dimension. What do you think is going to happen? Which is kind of like, what do you think is going to happen when you go to the wrong side of town, which is what the lower astral is. You want to blast through the lower astral. And all of those molecules don't really give you, again, enough momentum to escape the gravity well and really do it. You're always going to rubber band back, and you're always just going to be punching upward into sludge. Sludge. You're just going to ingest a lot of sludge and then also come back infested with sludge parasites. The sludge parasites are erroneous contexts and expectations about reality. And I didn't really know about a lot of this stuff because, again, I have epilepsy and I have to protect my brain. So I am not allowed to take DMT or any of these things. And I take like medical cannabis to like keep my brain like steady, not to do these wild rocket ship rides. And, I started maybe like 5 years or so to interact more with people that are in what is known as the festival scene. And a lot of these people have done what they call plant medicine, which is DMT, but they come back infested with parasites. And the parasites, again, are erroneous thought structures about the true nature of reality. And that they're totally destabilized. Like they came back with a bunch of extra poop on their chakras over here. And then they're wobbling around like this in their life. And that they wobble and they interact with other people and make other people wobble. And they might even wobble and they might be like, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to like, they come back. Here's what the erroneous nature is, that they might think like, I had a visionary experience. I know everything. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to teach people. It's going to be great. Like, no, like they're just full of astral poop. And then they're going to write a book that is also an astral poop book. And then they're going to destabilize other people, or give speeches about it, or give healing sessions about it. This is a rant. Again, gird yourself. It is a rant. Aurora's doing it. It is a cautionary rant, not meant to be judgmental, but boy, oh boy, I have seen a ton of infestation in the realm of seekers from those who are doing the rocket ship up on DMT, getting erroneous, partial information, entity attachment, that's what I'm trying to say, parasitic infestation, and then coming back to reality, thinking that they are elevated and proclaiming themselves as teachers, and then destabilizing others with erroneous perspectives. Melissa's got a question that's relevant, and I will get to all of your questions, I promise. I know it's been a long class. Says, are mushrooms in this category of lower astral ticket trips? I have to say, I think that they are. And that I know that some people have beautiful experiences on mushrooms. And also I have taken microdoses, which is 1 microgram of mushrooms 2 times, again, because I have to protect my brain. But I took them in the context of microdosing is supposed to be very good at healing trauma and brain trauma and all these different life traumas. And so I really wanted to know about that. And so in my experience, the journey, it was nothing of it was psychedelic, but it was, it did help in the sense of gaining a new perspective on trauma, like memory, like a memory will bubble up and then you just have a different perspective on it. So it can be used, I feel, therapeutically in a positive way. And I mean, hey, like I also know people that have taken ketamine in deep depression and that they found that it has helped them, all these things. I just feel super yellow caution flags on all of it, because when you go into the realm of pure thoughts, if it were a pristine world, if there was no soul yoinkage, if there was no claw that was going to grab you like a fuzzy pink bunny and stick you over here, there was no astral poop and no pooties, I would feel very, very differently about this. But I just really feel like with the 5G crapola that is being beamed into so many people's pineal glands right now, it's not the best idea to take these artificial augmentations. My own inner vision over the past 3 years has been so diminished from the barbed wire fences, from the space fence. Like I know this is, again, like I know what seeing is like. I know what having a healthy pineal gland is like. I know what that level of perception is like. And then I felt it very suddenly when they turned on the poop crapola rays. I'm like, this is not right. And it's almost impossible to reach spiritual attainment with the poop crapola rays that are going on. This is why I'm here, because I know what stuff is supposed to taste like. So it's like this. I know whatever, some wonderful type of food, chocolate cake is supposed to taste like. Then they turned off everybody's taste buds. And then they're making this chocolate cake that is sawdust cake. And I'm like, that is not chocolate cake. That is sawdust with frosting on it. You guys cannot eat this. But they thought because they turned off your taste buds, they could fool you. So it takes me, as someone who is an experiencer over many soul generations, to be able to say, that is not what this is. That is not the true state of attainment. And you do not want that. or, you know, I suggest, please listen to me. But that's not really what you want. Yeah, so just the psychedelic adventure for spiritual attainment right now, I would say, is a cautionary tale, something to be avoided, just because they're like, I'm telling you, like, dreaming is polluted. You know, the astral realm is polluted, the 5G, all of these things are making it very, very difficult for you to navigate effectively and know what the true God direction is. Positive news, although it's not in my notes, is that there is a highest sense. Even if your pineal gland is being filled with poop crapola, there is a highest sense that will guide you nonetheless, so that you will not be endlessly stuck in iterative cycles or held prisoner by some kind of astral felon or something like that. There is a highest sense, and there are many, many fail-safes for consciousness that are baked into the structure of reality, because God is an incredible genius and is like, no, I'm not going to allow even one puzzle piece of consciousness to get stuck somewhere that is where it's not supposed to be. I'm going to make sure that every single shard of myself makes it home. Charlie B has a beautiful comment, says, my highest self tells me, shouts at me to listen to Aurora. I'm very honored. And also, I'm pleased to hear that, because I am truly a voice of integrity. I'm sure that there are others here as well, but I definitely know for myself, like, it is 100% of what my job joy is to be here. I maintain structural integrity even amidst the greatest perturbations. I continue to do truthful and accurate calculations even amidst an enormous sea of errors. Like, you know, I tell you about being a math teacher with the clipboard and saying red X, red X, red X. Just imagine a whole world full of red X's. And I am still here with the green positive check marks, doing my math correctly. That is my genetic math. And what I do is emanate that song outward to you. Even if I never made a video, you guys would have a chance, because you can feel the truthfulness of what my DNA is, an antenna, and I'm a loud singer, like an opera singer, and I am telling you the truth with my DNA. And all of the things that they have done here, the mind control arrays, the frequency crapola, space fence, genetic modifications, and living in a world of math that is done incorrectly on purpose, hasn't made me become erroneous. And that's literally, I was built for this. And that is why I'm here, to maintain that pure signal of truth and be able to emanate that to others, so that you have a effing chance to be able to make it through this. And Charlie B says, yes, exactly that. Integrity and truth are so lacking here. We live in a world of corrosive lies, and Aurora is such a contrast. I'm very honored by what you say, and I thank you for that recognition. And it is also like very uplifting, because I know that when I do these videos, and when Charlie says that, or when others give me beautiful comments, that I'm like, you know something, it is totally worth it. Like, it is very difficult actually for me to be here. Like, you know, when you have a good sense of smell and you're like, oh God, like I have to walk past a pile of manure, it's not very pleasant. And this whole world has got like a manure smell that's going on, a lot of unpleasant stuff. That's even just a fun, cute way of saying it. And there's also peril here. There's all sorts of stuff that is gross, disgusting, and very unpleasant, and also quite perilous. And it is very personally uplifting to receive recognition, and for you guys to know that I'm doing this, and that I'm fighting for you, and that I'm fighting for you in the best way for you to have your own freedom. That I would not be like, I'm going to fight and triumph, and then I will be the power usurper. That I would never do that. Be like, now I will set myself up as the benevolent despot, and I will be the puppet master of all of you. I would never do that. All that I do is hold the space for freedom and make it so that you guys are able to make an informed choice, so that you guys are able to bring yourselves to that state of God's self-remembrance, which is what we really want. Because you really don't want to have a bunch of incapacitated people, like with their hands tied as prisoners, and then someone else is puppeting them genetically or consciousness or in their life. Like, you're going to get tied up like hogtied, and then someone's going to shift you over here or shift you over here. We don't want that. The galactic we don't want that. Highest Galactic Society wants consciously participating, evolved, wise co-creators in the world. And we need you. We need you with your capacitations intact and with your soul intact and with your unique presence intact, never usurped or co-opted with something else diluting you or imitating you or stopping you from being exactly who you are. So you're all incredibly unique, valuable presences and puzzle pieces. And we, larger galactic society, we need you to be up and running. We need you to be functional. We need you to be self-directed and have your own personal integrity and be able to think and act for yourself and create this world that is here. So I don't agree with any of these agendas that are about like benevolent space aliens, please invade and tell us all what to do. You know, somebody else take control of everything and take the reins away from humanity, from creating or controlling this world themselves. Everything about me and what I do and what my collective does and stands for is to empower you in freedom to create and make the world that you are here to create and make. That you should make your own body, you should make your own DNA architecture, you should make your own events of life, your own social dynamics, your own wealth modalities. You shouldn't have a quantum supercomputer doing any of these things. You shouldn't have technology using space race doing any of these things. We really should just be you and God. If you have any question about who you should be in partnership with or who should be there, who should be a part of your manifestation process, no one other than you and God. And the definition of you is beyond your temporal ego state. It is you, the eternal self. That is you. That's, if I could end, but I'm not really ready to end because I want to talk a little bit more about Christ consciousness. This is actually very relevant. Coming together, a blending of the two realms, the physicality ego structure realm and the non-physicality pure abstraction waveform realm. That is what I mean when I talk about third dimension and fifth dimension plus overlapping. I don't mean the 5D smoothie shop. I mean the 5D world of pure potential, waveforms that have not yet been created into solid objects like coffee cups, that fifth dimension and higher, really an infinite amount, that being perfectly overlaid and interwoven with the experience of being a somatic biological creature. That is heaven on earth. So in my notes, I write, no longer a distinctly separated physical realm and non-physical realm. We're bringing together matter plus energy or matter plus light. Now a coming together, blending of the two realms, like the way that red and blue make a new color called purple. This new purple world, the higher dimensional world, everyone on the surface of Earth is waking up to their own innate divinity. This is what I'm talking about. It's in the notes. All waking up to their own powerful inner co-creative imaginations and inner Christ consciousness. The mythology of Christianity on earth does give us some idea of what ascension is. This is, as a brief aside, the part of Christianity, the religion that I really resonate with, and that I love Christians and I love the Christian community, and I love to focus on this aspect, talking about Christ consciousness as associated with the third eye, the indigo, the brow chakra, the higher faculties of the physical anatomy. So the many stories, if you don't take things too literally, there's a beautiful story that exists about a person who is an avatar, a container for the divine presence, who came to earth, who was an otherworldly being and inhabited a physical form specifically to be a servant to humanity and to act as an example of what happens when you activate your Christ chakra. The many stories or mythologies of healings and miracles that Jesus Christ, aka Yeshua, the guy from Nazareth, was said to have performed. They can be taken literally as this is the story of what happens when a person becomes a full spectrum human. The special things that he was able to perform, you will also be able to perform one day. And that's also, in his own words, one of the teachings that comes to us. Things such as the healing of disease, even the raising of the dead, the healing of death, instant manifestation of food. This is known from the story of the fishes and the loaves, also fish that were manifest for fishermen to bring out of the water and water into wine. and even levitation, which is walking on water. And those are just a few of the recorded stories of miracles that this person was able to perform. These are all the activities that you are able to do as an awakened person with a Christ chakra that functions. When you get your higher faculties online and functional, you are able to do all these things. I talk about the sky poop. You know, there's particulates that are pooped out from the different planes or whatever orbs during the day. It might seem daunting, like, oh, it's so big and it's so crapped up there. How are we going to clean the sky? I'm telling you that when you are activated in Christ, you have the capacitation to be able to clean the sky. It's one of the first jobs that we're doing with the bucket and a mop to be able to clean this place up, to clean up the sky poop. And healing of diseases. Cancer is a genetic disease that is part of the waveforms that we are swimming through that are total crapitude. Clean up the waveforms, clean up the false stories that those waveforms have told to people's cellular structures. Each one of us is the living embodiment of Christ. And we need to connect to the source for guidance and nourishment about how to be the living Christ here. And that this is a big connection to what Flying Rainbow Lasagne is, because this genetic oscillation makes it possible to connect to the source. Like, you need what people here call light codes. When I came in 20 years ago, I didn't have that word, but this is what everybody calls them. You need data streams and information and structural specifics about how to restructure your genetics, your consciousness, your expectations of reality, and your behavior to be able to do these things. That information is available at large, but you've had frequency fence and other things that have made it very difficult for you to get to that information. Flying Rainbow Lasagne, jump in and out so that you can get that information directly. And also that you are part of a larger grid or network of many people connecting together in Christ consciousness. And there are other, stories across cultures of those who died but did not die. So you can think about the story of Osiris, that's ancient Egypt. Daganawida, that is Iroquois tradition. Lao Tzu, founder of Taoism, is said to have simply rose up and transcended, didn't physically die. They say he took his horse with him. So me and Cheeky, we're stuck together like glue. That's all I can say. We're going everywhere together. There were a couple of others too. Yes, biblical figures who precede Jesus Christ, Yeshua. Enoch, Elijah, and Ezekiel. And the Ezekiel, that's the one that we know from the chariots of fire, wheels within wheels, fires within fires, wheels within wheels. They were talking about chakra-based beings, which is what they perceived angels to be. So there is a cross-cultural tendency to remind people of beings who died but did not die, who transcended the physical realm and went to a higher state change, from a solid to a liquid to a gas to a plasma to pure energy, a change of consciousness and the raising of vibration. And that is what happens when you get hit with the fire hose of pure information from the world of pure light. The Flying Rainbow Lasagne is a doorway that exists big here in conjunction with Christ consciousness. For many years, there was a blackout, like a blockade, beyond which humanity's consciousness could not connect. And that gets us to lesson 18, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. It explains the last 2,000 years, which is really the dark ages of humanity, and that humanity has gone through even after the presence of Jesus Christ, aka Yeshua, the messenger of peace, who is here, because humans have been on that perilous journey of the connection between this level, the brow chakra, and this level, the crown chakra. And now we are at the singularity. We have connected to the crown. We have connected to God. We are getting to source and to the 0th dimension. And Earth, on her planetary journey to ascension and higher consciousness, is analogous to what we are experiencing too. So we are ascending together. You got it? Like, it's not that far-fetched. Cheeky is over here for me to say Cheeky and I are going to ascend together, like Lao Tzu and his beautiful horse. We are going to ascend together, and the planet is ascending together. Grass and insects and butterflies will ascend with us. Everything is ascending as part of this amazing planetary ascension journey. The Flying Rainbow Lasagne as a technique for, again, folding space, time, and consciousness so that the little ant, quote unquote, doesn't have to go all the way across linear time space. You can fold the edges until they overlap. And any blockages in the middle you can transcend. This is how you connect to the source in order to be able to get that repatterning, to be able to reclaim and reconnect with your own Christ consciousness, no longer be cut off from it, but tune in again to Christ consciousness. And tune in beyond the blockades. That's what I want to say. That I'll read it for you. This is what's been going on with Earth consciousness still in the startup phase. Oh, yeah. When you start a business, first you have to do outlay. You have to spend a bunch of money on equipment. And once you spend the money on that equipment, you then become a much more efficient producer. So humanity has been in that phase of the startup for the past 2,000 years, just trying to get the Christ consciousness going. That's like the slowest part. Like for me, my microgreens, like I earned some money, but now I have to spend it on a special pair of scissors. I earned some money, but now I have to spend it on fertilizer. I earned some money, but now I have to spend it on seeds and lights. But at a certain point, you've got the equipment that you need to generate even more stuff. When you get your Christ consciousness functional, you have the equipment that you need to generate more stuff. You go from the bootstrapping phase of your little business that you're trying to start to the now I can really make money phase, generating reality. Like I told you, clearing the sky poop, that's what you're going to do before breakfast. On the day you become Christ, before you even have a cup of coffee in the morning and have your breakfast toast, you're going to clear out the sky poop. All right. And then you're going to clear out frequency crapola. Then you're going to clear out everybody's cancer programming. Then you're going to get to the really fun stuff of generating reality in conjunction with a much, much larger, beautiful network of consciousness known as Christ. So I say this in my notes, the equipment for greater efficiency is connection to Christ. And once you have your Christ chakra spinning properly and in connection to higher consciousness, you have a direct connection to source. And you then get all of the ideas you could possibly need about anything, not merely ideas about survival, like how to rub two sticks together and make some fire and stay warm, but how to thrive, how to get all the physical resources that you need, plus opportunities and love, cosmic love abstractly and from the material world. Again, if it was possible for a master teacher to manifest fishes and loaves, you can manifest fishes and loaves. You can manifest food for you to eat. This becomes a completely different level of reality. And then we go into, I'm going to share fried chicken to you, mind to mind. You don't have to have fried chicken physically anymore. I'm going to beam it into your mind. You're starting to get there with me. And it's beautiful. Actually, my heart is so full right now because I'm telepathic and I can feel you guys and I can tell that you're getting there and you're on the journey with me and that you really, really, really want to eat my fried chicken so much. I can't wait to make it for you. So the money that this factory makes is health and vitality and positive experience and spiritual power. That is the new earth. We are giving birth to this new earth. It's been very, very difficult under war-torn conditions, but that is what we labor to create. I'm going to read it again. Not a world of money. Any new age teacher that's like, let's create a world of money, please don't listen to them. Any new age teacher that's like, let's get rid of money. Let's create a different world where the currency of value is based in health, vitality, positive experiences, and spiritual power. Those are the things that I consider as Aurora in the highest dimensional collective to be valuable. Those are the things that really matter. You are in bold in my notes. You are a wealthy person when you are able to direct the events of your life, when you're empowered to create the things that you wish to experience. I wish to experience seeing a sea of yellow flowers, of yellow wildflowers, and you create that, and then you go and you experience it. That is wealth. That is wealth, as opposed to the materialistic wealth world that we're coming out of, where it says, no, wealth is having access to a field of yellow flowers, cutting them all down, turning them into an extract, bottling that extract, then selling it on Facebook and Instagram through your Shopify Instacart. Like, that's not wealth. You got it, guys? That is a totally different level. And that's like when I talk about the difference between appreciating the music that the piano creates and actually eating the physical piano. want to eat the music of the piano, but not the physical piano. So through doing this, you become unfettered and unbound. Your divine connection through Christ, using the Flying Rainbow Lasagne to connect to the source, means you're connecting to God and you're claiming your own innate divinity, and you're creating and manifesting your reality directly. And in the end, there is no need to die. That is the big emphasis. I know this has been a very, very long teaching, and thank you for being with me all the way through to this culminative moment. There is not a need to die. In this generation, the opportunities that are presented to you in terms of your spiritual development and your levels of attainment abrogate the necessity of dying, bypassing the distinction between earthly reality versus heavenly reality. Remember that old teaching of Christianity that I don't agree with? First you must die, then you must ascend to heaven by your belief in Jesus Christ. In this generation, you have an opportunity to not die, but to stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. There have been times in my life when that has been my mantra, and I have helped many other people through incredible dark times. Please never self-destruct. Please never leave voluntarily. If you have a disease, please fight against it with everything you have. Make your mantra, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, because in this time, place, you have the opportunity to transcend death. Flying Rainbow Lasagne as a mix of these two realities, the earthly and the heavenly, and that is really what this new earth is. That is what this painting means in visual language over here. You're combining the world of matter and the world of pure cognitive expression and energy and light and cognitive capacitation, and you think a new reality into being, and that is wealth, and that is freedom, and that is coherence, and that is longevity. The connection between the Flying Rainbow Lasagne and eternal life, and the connection between the Flying Rainbow Lasagne and Christhood and eternal life. That is, I got through most of my notes. I have a whole other section of notes that I didn't get a chance to get to. I'll send it out with the archive. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm getting through all of these questions and comments over here. So thank you again for the people sticking with me on the longness of my sharing over here. Okay, Pedro has a question. He says, after ascending, can we have a mate or friends, or what kind of relationships besides the band? So you will totally recontextualize all of your social dynamics. After you ascend, everything changes in terms of how you, like right now, everyone is very, very focused on pair bonding and physical procreation. These are biological necessities and biological imperatives that are appropriate for the world that you're coming out of, because you need to make more people, because everybody keeps on dying. But now you are entering into a different realm, and people have also been contextually, culturally conditioned to express friendship, closeness, and affection as sexuality, intimacy as sexuality. However, there is a whole different level of being. None of what I'm saying is about casting shame upon sexuality. Sexuality, orgasm, and ecstasies are very beautiful and very divine, but you come from a traumatized world. When people are traumatized, one of the only ways that they think, they're like, someone did something kind for me, I should have sex with them. They're like, the only way that they can think of in terms of intimacy and sharing is about sexuality, which is actually like the lowest level, not worst, but just like most diminished and distorted level of being able to connect with people. And that is not the pinnacle or the apotheosis of being able to have personal friendships, intimacy, and create community. So after ascension, you have community. So when I talk about that band, after you perambulate up the mountain and you are part of this collective, first of all, you're like sky acrobats that are tumbling through time, and someone else catches you. There's an enormous amount of trust and intimacy there. And also everything about you is read and known. Like imagine if somebody catches you like this and they know everything about you, your greatest triumphs and your deepest, darkest secrets, and they love and accept you in that moment. It is even more intimate than any kind of physical, sexual intercourse sharing. You got it? It's more intimate than being naked together in bed. It is more intimate than anything you could possibly imagine. It involves a huge amount of trust and a huge amount of real acceptance and accommodation of the uniqueness of all of the people who are there, and celebration, because there's no rejection. It's not like somebody catches you and then you're like, oh, you did something wrong, I reject you. It's not like that. This is total love and commitment. That is what the band is. The band sticks together. You know something, me and my dog, we are like good waffles. We stick together. There's literally nothing that my dog can do that's going to make me be like, no, I throw you out the window. Like, we are stuck together like glue. That is what that collective and that level of experience is like. It's a level of trust, intimacy, sharing, and committedness that is almost unimaginable in the world that we're coming out of here, where here most people don't even have that with their biological families or with their intimacy partners or husbands or wives. Sometimes people don't have that, like with their parents, and the parents are supposed to love you unconditionally, and it's amazing. And you don't feel unfulfilled. You don't feel like, wow, like this is really great, but I really think we should, like, you know, have sex or something. It's not like that. And just like when you're a musician and you're making music and you're like, I totally feel the drummer and I totally feel the bass player and I'm playing the piano and I feel what that guy is doing. There is, again, this type of intimacy and connectivity and sharing that is so special and respectful and profound and celebratory. And you're doing it as a group, which again has nothing at all to do with any kind of polyamory or anything like that. Everybody in this traumatized world, you know, brings it down to physical partnership on that level. But I'm trying to make you recognize there's something even better on the menu. Like, there's something even better than even the best dessert that's on the menu of like the lower reality structures stuff. And so, yeah, you definitely, here's to just make it very clear. Yes, you have personal relationships, people that you're closer to than other people. Yes, you have group relationships. There are group dynamics. There are people that you might favor. Like, this person I spend a lot of time with, this person I don't spend that much time with. But everybody is celebrated and uniquely present, and there's no such thing as jealousy. And also, there's no such thing as like one person is married to Jesus. Like, there's Mr. Jesus Christ and Mrs. Jesus Christ. Be like, oh, this is my husband. Like, no one else is going to step out with my husband. Like, it's not like that. Or Mr. Krishna and Mrs. Krishna, or any of these things. It is not like that. So it is not about jealousy. It is not about ownership. It is not about exclusivity. It's about inclusivity, but it is largely transcending the expressions of sexuality. And most of the emotions that I just talked about in terms of pair bonding are about the orange chakra mammalian emotions, which are appropriate because when you make a baby with someone, you should be like, hey, hands off my man. Like, that's my man who fathered my baby. And the man should be like, yeah, hands off my woman. Like, that's the mother of my child. And we stick together like glue. And everybody else, you know, F off. You're not supposed to be a part of us. That's appropriate for that world that you come out of. But that's not what this other level of being is about, where there is an endless amount of music to be made, no need for jealousy or exclusivity, total celebration and inclusiveness. And there's no way to be like, I'm better than you, you're better than you, this body part is bigger than you, my body part is smaller than you. None of that is going on. There's just a complete celebration of the uniqueness of all the different types of people who are there, because everyone who got there is a total master, virtuous virtuoso, who is the greatest example of what that can be. When I talk about the versions of you that died on the membrane of death, those were the wrong notes, not the greatest version of who you can be. But the version of you that makes it through the central core timeline is the version that is the greatest iteration of who you can be. And imagine every single one of you being together in a room with all the other people who are also their greatness. So in this world, I spend a lot of my time reminding people of their greatness. There's enough harmful influences that poop on top of people and tell them that they're sinners and they're bad and they're wrong and they're unworthy and they're never going to make it to heaven and deserve to suffer in hell forever. And I'm completely the opposite. I'm like, no, you're good. You're innately good. You're worthy. You're innately worthy. You're innocent. You don't deserve to be trapped in a world of sky poops and demons. You got it. You don't deserve punishment. You're not learning through punishment. This is not your karma. And your karma is actually to transcend this, remember yourself as God, and be your greatness, and be in a complete collective of those who are also similarly totally remembering their greatness. I think I missed this comment from Miss Plugin. Says, oh, they live in a different time zone. It's very late, but they'll catch up later. Because this lesson is so great. Thank you, Aurora. You're so welcome, Miss Plugin. I'm happy that you made it here for even a little bit of the live class. Trisha says, what about the dark sun, Aurora? I saw that in one of my dreams the other day. Yeah. So there is a sun simulator. There's our true sun. This is our true sun. Our true sun, got it, the Son of God. And then there is a fake sun in front of the true sun that's even a little bit bigger and louder. That's like, I am fake, listen to me, I'm very loud and annoying, blah, 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 blah. And it sends out all sorts of false and annoying and erroneous information. And some of the stuff that it sends out is stuff that wants you to die. Those are some of those signals that are death cult signals that tell you you must die, and then you will arise in Jesus Christ and live forever. I am not here to denigrate anybody's religion. I love you, Christians. I love you. I love you. I love you. But I take great issue with that erroneous teaching in this time, and with things that are being said from the harmful, erroneous rays in the sky that talk to the cells of the inhabitants of this world. I want to protect your cells. I'm like, no, you don't want to die. Don't listen to that sky poop. Don't. You don't want to die. And people, when they are down and vulnerable, they think, maybe I should just die. Please listen to me in those moments. Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. I'm talking to the cells of your body. Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. Please do not die. Because I will tell you, death is not the exit. You will be recycled. You will be like a fuzzy bunny that the claw comes down and picks you up and transits you over here. It's not, I'm making that Kermit face. It is not okay. It is not okay. So the dark sun, I would say, is a derivative of true light, but it is edited and erroneous. So this edited and erroneous false light construct requires true light as its true, what the recipe is made out of, ingredients, but then it makes sawdust chocolate cake. So it takes real chocolate cake, turns it into sawdust, puts a bunch of icing on it, gives it to you and says, this is Ascension. And I'm like, that is not Ascension. So the dark sun is technological and has been perpetrated upon this planet and upon humanity as a crime. The cosmic law enforcement rectification event is in progress as we speak. That is all that I need to say. But please know that when you do sun gazing and when you open yourself up to the true light of Christ, you must supersede and transcend false light. You must not listen to imposters, not listen to imposter signals. That's why I'm very, very big on telling people, please don't align with any teachings that tell you that in order to live forever, you have to die, because I don't think that that's truthful. And I think that that is a weaponization of the life of a great teacher who actually came here to teach you that even if they try to kill you, you're not going to die. All right. I think that is the real lesson of his beautiful life. And I mean, unabashedly, I'm just sharing very much like, I love that teacher profoundly. I think that Jesus Christ, or Yeshua, is one of the most amazing people, presences, consciousnesses that it is possible to be. Totally admire and draw inspiration from them and who they have been in the world. And I aspire to be similarly structured, really amazing, amazing consciousness to be a part of. And he is one facet of a much, much larger level of greatness. You get it? When you're in the band, you're great. And you're at that level of greatness and surrounded by and participating with a great musician like that. It's worthy of your admiration. He is an amazing person. And you are also similarly amazing people. Melissa says, all race cars, bikes, and boats are all shaped with the golden ratio just for this force and flow equation. Totally. You got it. That goes back to the sense of your fluid dynamics through time. You have to be shaped exactly right in order to be able to flow through time and not have these forces totally crush you. So yeah, one of these speedboats or supersonic jets or whatever it is, they're shaped that way for a reason. So none of this is arbitrary. It's all intentional. Pedro says, do you think they preserved the body because they somehow remembered we ascended? So Pedro, what happened in ancient Egypt was originally many tens of thousands of years ago, the dead were buried in a salt field, like a place where there is sand that has a very high salt quotient to it. And it not only desiccated their physical forms, but preserved them from rot, like microbial and fungal rot. And that they looked at those preserved bodies and they said, oh, those are the uncorrupted. Like they died, but they're still alive somehow. Their bodies aren't gone. And that then their culture began to figure out the formula to be able to do that artificially, to preserve the body through the mummification process, and that they equated that with having an eternal soul. But they really turned it into a type of mania or obsessive compulsive disorder. Like when you have obsessive compulsive disorder, you're like, I have to touch the stove 5 times, otherwise I'm going to die. You get it? I have to do this. I have to do this in this order, otherwise the world will explode. And the truth is, you can ascend and you can live forever, even if you don't have a perfectly mummified corpse. But in their culture, it became their mania. And then there became a very corrupt system wherein you had to pay this many indulgences and you had to earn your tomb in this way. And then you had to give the priest to embalm you this much. And then you have to do this and you have to do this and then you have to do this. And then your soul will be uncorruptible. You got it? So things that originally started out with the sense of, bringing people towards freedom and coherence and longevity then became commodified. Commodification, totally the opposite direction of where you would want to go with all of that for your quest for spiritual attainment. Your quest for spiritual attainment is not about something that is a physical thing that you get here, even though physical things can definitely help us on our journey. Like I drink structured water. That's my structured water bottle. Helps me on my journey. But it can't be like, okay, guys, first you have to earn $1 million, then you can buy this special structured water bottle, then you can ascend. Like you can ascend drinking tap water. If it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen, and it is meant to happen. It is inevitable. Oh, thank you, Melissa. Melissa says, Aurora, you fit that exact description. Thank you. Thank you. That was when we were talking about being a structure of truth. Like I am like structured water or like a perfect crystalline structure. Thank you for that. And she says the same description you gave for Yeshua. I'm highly honored. I really am. It touches my heart so much because that is like everything that I've done in my life here as Aurora has been guided by that. So that's an enormous moment for me to hear that from you. And I truly thank you with every level of my being. Thank you so much, Melissa. One more comment down here. Michelle says, appreciate all you beautiful beings. Catch the replay. Have to run. Love all you. Love back to you, Michelle. Thank you. I know it's been a very long sharing today, but so worth it. And I appreciate each one of you so very much. Like I truly am so grateful that I get to connect with amazing humans. You are your greatness. You are on your journey of greatness and remembrance. You are worthy of being in the band. I thank you so much. Pedro says, customarily love the lasagna. I love you right back. I love you right back. And I want you guys to know the time that we spend in class here and when I share and when you listen, when you open up to these things, you will remember these moments and you will remember them from the other side of this transformative experience. And you will be like, I remember hearing about that, like reading about that, knowing what's going to happen later. Then you get the confirmation. You're going to get the confirmation of all the things that I've been telling you about, and your efforts are worth it. Your efforts for your own personal attainment and freedom are totally worth it. And your efforts to give birth along with the planet to an expanded and improved reality, totally worth it. All right. So, something, it is definitely time for me to give my master teacher, Cheeky, a walk. You're so welcome. Marie says, thank you for another great class. You're so very welcome. I'm very honored. It's my job joy to do this. I love doing this. Thank you. And I send my very real and profound love, respect, and endless encouragement to every single one of you. And I hope that you send it and radiate it out to others. If you know anyone in your life who is feeling fragile or self-destructive or really struggling or whatever, please tell them to stay alive. It's worth it. It's worth it. Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive in this generation. Okay. That's what I'm going to end on for right now, because I got to go take the master teacher for a walk. Thank you. And I love you. Thank you. You're very welcome, Adam. Thank you so much.